Thank you. Janice, are we good on your end? Okay, great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the July 6th, 2026 regular meeting of the Township of Montclair Planning Board. In accordance with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, the Official Electronic Publication Act, and the amendments to the notice provisions of the Municipal Land Use Law. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting a copy of the notice on the first floor of the municipal building, on the Township of Montclair's official internet website, and on the statewide legal notices listings of the New Jersey Department of State. This meeting is being broadcast live on Channel 34 and is streaming live and will be available on demand on YouTube. This meeting is a quasi-judicial proceeding, meaning that the board has powers and procedures resembling a court of law, and we are obligated to objectively determine facts and draw conclusions from them in order to provide the basis of an official action. Any questions or comments must be limited to the issues of what the board may legally consider in reaching a decision, and the decorum appropriate to a judicial hearing must be maintained at all times. The fire exits are to my right or your left, and also in the back of the room. As to the order of the evening, each application hearing begins with the applicant or their attorney giving an overview of the application and the variances that are required, if any. We then hear from any expert witnesses the applicant may have to help explain the application and why variances are required. The board members may ask questions of the applicant, the attorney, and their expert witnesses. And if you're a member of the interested public but not a witness in the case, you'll have 2 opportunities to speak. And at the end of each witness's testimony, you'll be given the opportunity to ask the witness questions about his or her testimony. And that's not the time to tell the board what you think of the application. That will actually come later. And so to ask questions of the witness, you'll have to come to the front of the room here, give us your name and address, and then ask your questions related to the witness's testimony only. After the applicant's witnesses, any objector and objector witnesses have been heard, members of the audience will have their second opportunity to step forward. And at that time, you may express your opinions, positive or negative, about the application. Comments are generally limited to 3 minutes per person. And at the completion of the applicant's case, any objector case, and public comment, the public hearing is closed and the board members discuss the case and vote. And at that time, you'll be able to listen to our discussion, but will not be able to participate. Next on our agenda is roll call.
Mayor Baskerville.
Present.
Mr. Borshoff.
Here.
Mr. Campbell.
Present.
Counselor D'Amato. Ms. Gaines.
Here.
Vice Chair Graham.
Here.
Mr. Ianwali.
Here.
Ms. Willis is excused. Mr. Orbea is excused. Ms. Wallace. Here. And Chair Brodock.
I'm here. Next, we have the swearing in of our board professionals.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you may give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you both.
Should we also swear in Mr. Giosa at this point, or do you want to wait until he comes up for
We'll
the
wait
application?
until his testimony.
Okay. All right, Ms. Talley, you had some announcements?
Yes, I wanted to invite the planning board to attend any of the community meetings that we have planned for the next 4 weeks. We're taking the master plan re-examination on the road to the various wards to basically discuss what the master plan re-examination report process is, what our planning documents and zoning documents state, and get feedback, you know, to listen to what they have to say about the state of our various plans. So it'll be every Wednesday for the next 4 Wednesdays in different wards. I gave you the list of the locations, and I really encourage board members to attend, because essentially this is your document and you're hosting this discussion. We are facilitating it. And information on this will be posted on the township's website tomorrow. There are copies of this in the back of the room if anybody is interested in finding out about the location and timing of our master plan re-examination report outreach.
Okay.
Thank you.
Will we have any quorum issues if, say, more than 4 of us show up to any one of these events?
We might, so if you let me know which ones you want to attend, or you will attend, I can make sure we don't run into that issue.
Okay, I think that'd be
Okay.
helpful, especially since this is kind of as the board's document, so,
Right.
different than maybe another town-type meeting that we would have.
Exactly.
Okay, and before we get to the minutes, if anybody's here for application 2973, which is 586 Bloomfield Avenue, High Hills, New Jersey LLC, that's not going to be heard tonight. That was on the agenda, but they did not provide notice for this meeting, but provided notice for July 20th?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yep.
So if anybody's here for that, we're not going to hear that application tonight. It's actually going to be heard on July 20th. All right, and with that, let's move to the minutes from June 15th.
And I received comments from Chair Brodock and Mr. Ian Wally on the minutes. I may have misspelled Miss Jones's name. Arthur, I'll take the name that you have in your resolution. Okay? I think I had Michaela, it might have been Nicola. So I'll make that change.
Okay.
Are there any other changes to the minutes?
Just on the bottom of page 3, the last full paragraph, it says Dr. Lemming noted that 10 parking are needed for staff members, so obviously 10 parking spaces are needed. Some minor catch there.
Okay. Any other changes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
As amended, so moved.
Okay. A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay.
I was not here, but I listened to it at home, so do I vote?
You can vote, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I understand. I was thinking this was the doctor. This isn't the doctor's office. This is the one.
This is the minutes.
This is minutes.
Yeah.
Minutes from June 15th,
Yeah.
so if you were here.
And you were
I'm
here.
sorry, I can vote, yes. I'm thinking it was a resolution.
We're almost there.
Aye.
We're almost
Aye.
there. Okay, moving on to resolutions. We have the resolution for 260 Park Street. Mr.
Are-
Neese, do you have, I think you probably saw comments from myself and Mr. Ian Wally, and I think Ms. Talley, was this the one, Ms. Talley, you sent around?
Yeah, I
The
think
voting record?
I might have been referring to the wrong voting record, because you have multiple voting records in here, and I was commenting on the final voting record.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yes.
it was correct.
Yes, and the final voting record is correct, so that was my fault.
Okay. I just want to thank Tony, you, and everyone else who contributed, because it was an unusual resolution, and I tried hard to incorporate the board's process into this. And should you have any questions, I'll answer them, but I'm not sure what else. You and I talked, Chair Brodock and I talked today about his concerns or his issues, and we went through it. So,
And just so the board knows, our conversations, we're going to take out the times of the meetings from the resolution, because I think we announced it a couple times, the time, but not on all of them, so we're just going to take that out just for consistency's sake. We're also going to leave, or at least my suggestion is, after speaking with Mr. Neese, that we leave those paragraphs that are in the first, I think, therefore clause, is that where that, no, the first whereas related to the vote, because it makes more sense to keep it there than to try and move it later on in the document. That was one of my questions. And then I believe we determined that Ms. Willis was absent that night.
She was absent, yes.
So that would be how she voted, or that's how it should be indicated in the voting block, that she was absent.
Okay.
And we're comfortable with, Arthur, you're comfortable with the description of the zoning board's vote? That it was to affirm or confirm that the property is in the NC's, was listed in the NC zone.
I essentially took the zoning board resolution, the wording
Okay.
of the zoning board resolution, and incorporated it into this resolution.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments on the resolution? No, hearing none, I would move to approve the resolution as amended.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you want me to go a roll call about who's eligible to vote on this?
Well, I
Probably.
can't vote, I know, and
Yeah, let me do it.
Okay, let's,
I'll go through it. Mr.
because
Campbell.
before we do the roll, so it's anyone who voted in favor of the application is eligible to vote on the resolution.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Campbell? Okay.
So you abstain.
Right. And Mr. D'Amato's not here. Ms. Gaines?
Yes.
Vice Chair Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Ian Wally?
I cannot vote.
Right, right. And Mr. Brodock?
Yes.
Okay, there we go.
Okay. Next, we have the resolution for application 2971, which is 427, 429 Bloomfield Avenue. Were there
And I-
changes to this? I think I submitted a few changes to
Yeah, I
this.
think we got changes from you, Keith.
Okay.
That was it.
Mr. Neese, did you have any?
Anything to add to the resolution? No. It was pretty straightforward, it seemed to me, and with the changes that I think I saw, it made it actually better.
Okay. All right, any other changes from anyone on the floor here? Oh, with that, I would move to approve the resolution as amended.
Second?
Want me to do the roll again?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Campbell? Abstain. All right. Ms. Gaines?
Yes.
Vice Chair Graham?
Yes.
Mr. Ian Wally?
Yes.
Ms. Wallace? And Chair Brodock?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. That brings us to application 2945, 580 Valley Road, BG Valley LLC.
Chair, I'm recused from this application, so I'm going to leave the dais.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks.
I'm going to see Mr. Genova on behalf of the applicant here.
I didn't know if Mr. Giosa was speaking first or if we're up.
I think we were going to have Mr. Giosa give his testimony first.
Okay.
Okay, but you can, you want to, Jerry, if you want to come up, and you're welcome to sit there, because I'm sure you'll have questions.
Also, since we have Mr. Genova here appearing on behalf of the applicant, if you would just put your appearance on the record, please.
Good evening.
Oh, well, yeah, can we have you do it on the microphone just so we can hear it? Either at the lectern, here at the table, your choice.
This is good.
Okay. One of them, the light doesn't light up, Mr. Genova, so you may
It's not
have to
on.
just,
No,
there
no.
you go.
You got to tap on it, make sure.
Record.
It should.
Well, good evening. Thank you for acknowledging me, Mr. Neese. I'm going to be appearing tonight. I'm with the law firm of Genova Burns. I am appearing on behalf of the applicant. Regrettably, Mr. Trembulac, who's lead counsel in the matter, is experiencing a personal medical emergency. It was in the interest of the applicant, and the applicant wanted to proceed, given that this is now the fourth hearing date. So I'm substituting for Mr. Trembulac this evening, but you'll see Mr. Trembulac again, no doubt, in connection with this application as it progresses through the system. So thank you for accommodating me to allow the process to continue, and I'm sure we all have our concerns for Mr. Trembulac.
Okay.
Mr. Genova, is your license current?
Is my license current? My legal license is current. I hope I don't look that old, Arthur.
That's fine.
But yes, it's
I don't think
current
we've
and
ever asked
very-
counsel
and-
that before.
and very active. Now, you're talking about my legal license,
I am.
right?
I am. We always
Not my-
ask
Not my
professionals.
driver's license.
Thank you.
I think we wanted initially, before Mr. Giosa gave his testimony, we needed to clarify something in terms of an image.
Yeah, if you'll permit us, just one quick thing. Do I need to be sworn in again?
I think Mr. Neese will remind you that you're recognized you're still under oath.
Mr. Genova, you appeared before the board in connection with this application before tonight, correct?
I did.
And you were sworn at the time, were you not?
I was.
You understand that you remain under oath here tonight?
I do.
Thank you.
It was now some time ago that we were talking about architecture on this plan. We've since talked about civil engineering, we've talked about parking, and tonight we have a different scope to talk about. I was reviewing the meeting minutes, or the YouTube video of our architecture meeting that we had in front of this board, and Ms. Wallace actually suggested something that we never responded to. Which was a differentiation of the entryway from the rest of the storefront on the Valley Road facade. Because I noticed this somewhat late and with Alan's absence, this was not submitted on the portal. I have copies for everybody, if I can just pass them up. And to be clear, this doesn't change the application. It doesn't create any new variances. I don't believe it creates any new waivers. Our application remains as the package you have. This is an alternate facade detail that we are happy to acknowledge as a condition of approval should this board grant us approval, if the board sees this as a better aesthetic alternative to what we had proposed initially on the facade. So with that in mind, I'll pass this out, and I think it's fairly self-explanatory, but I'll give a slight overview.
I think
Okay, then we'll mark that.
Yeah, I pre-marked some of the exhibits. So this
Okay.
is going to be A29, alternate
What
facade.
became of A27
Well-
and 28?
Okay, A27 is the report from Gerard Giosa dated June 22nd, 2026. A28 is the memorandum of understanding submitted between SwimQuest and Reach Out Montclair that was submitted last week. And A29 will be the alternate facade detail dated today, I believe.
Thank you very much.
Is there a date on that? Dated May 22nd, okay. So this is A29.
I do have two extras if anything.
Sorry, Mr. Genova.
Yeah.
I recall during testimony that there were documents EX01, EX02, and EX03 at an earlier hearing. And my recollection is that the proponent of those didn't have those documents with him. We were shown them, the presentation was up on the screen, but it was my understanding that the board was going to be supplied with paper copies at a later time. Do you know whether or not that occurred?
I don't believe it occurred. I don't remember that interaction specifically. I know we uploaded those exhibits to the portal. I did not come prepared with paper exhibits of those three exhibits.
Okay. I'll get back to you on that.
Thank you.
I'm not sure they were on the website. I'm not sure what portal they were uploaded into, but I didn't see them on the township website, which I know is not your domain to put up there,
Yeah.
but I'm just for, folks from the public who are interested.
I'm going to tell you in just a second.
I have EX300, okay, that's
A21,
A21, 22, and 23.
right.
While Mr. Giosa was testifying, my client, the applicant, will take a look and see if, confirm that they've been uploaded, see if we can get it.
Okay. I mean, is it your intention to complete this application tonight, or do you plan, Mr. Genova, Senior, the attorney?
It's our intention to allow for Mr. Giosa's testimony, obviously. Cross-examination, we have two witnesses. This this evening. We have Mr. Garth in connection with Western North's Exhibit 22, the Montclair reach out MOU, and then we have our planner expert staff. We think we would be in a position to close the record. We part may depend on whether or not there'll be a need for further testimony to Mr. Giosa's testimony. My hope is that some of my cross-examination might reveal some things as well as Mr. Steck in his overall review and narrative to the board. So we can make that assessment, but now in our fourth hearing, ideally a determination this evening would be welcome, one way or the other, but if the record isn't complete, then the record's not complete, we should do that.
Okay, I just wanted to kind of get your sense of what you were thinking, because you had mentioned a few minutes ago Mr. Tremblay would appear here at future hearings on this application. I thought, that might have been an indicator that you didn't plan on finishing tonight.
No, I've been instructed by my client that we should try to finish it.
Of course.
You're not getting anything on the mic.
Oh, they're not getting on the mic?
No.
Okay. You'll either have to bring the mic closer or use the handheld that's in front of you.
I'll do that.
So this exhibit here is an alternate facade detail. When we did the initial facade revision a couple meetings ago, it was with the intent of increasing the transparency on the front window to try to meet the township's guidelines in terms of the percentage of glass on that front facade. And as a result of that, we had initially positioned the SwimQuest logo sign above the canopy on I guess it's part of the parapet wall all the way to the north. And the kind of wood-clad wave detail was isolated to above the canopy. At the revision meeting where we presented that, Ms. Wallace noted that she would prefer to see something differentiated around the actual storefront itself, something kind of guiding you into the front door, something that said this is where to go if you are walking on Valley Road, driving past Valley Road. And our architecture team attempted to respond to that by continuing some of that wave detail down underneath the canopy in an applied fashion, so it doesn't take the place of the glass facade. It can be easily removed so that the glass facade remains uninterrupted north to south, but it's an applied detail over the glass facade. And then we also moved the sign to above the front door on Valley Road, with a band detail that the sign would sit on, proud of the storefront mullion system, and that is the only change represented on this plan. Again, it's something that I defer to the board if they like this or not. We may still come in for the sign detail there. I don't think that's that would be a subcommittee, HPC subcommittee, as long as it complies. We may come in for that sign detail unless the board feels strongly against it. But that cladding facade there is the addition to this, along with the sign placement. We are comfortable with this being a condition of approval should this facade detail more reflect the board's vision for how the front of this space works.
In the central window area, there appear to be what look like screens standing up. Is that what those are supposed to be?
There are no screens. What you might be seeing is there is a interstitial wall between the pool and the front facade.
Right.
And in that space is where we have the dry bar and some other lobby-like features. So you may be seeing a second round of storefronts inside the space that are for parents and viewers and other people to see into the pool, but they are set back from the front facade.
But that wouldn't be opaque. You wouldn't see through it. It would be opaque. You wouldn't see through it.
No, you could see through it, but there's a grade change between Valley Road and the pool.
Yes.
So from Valley Road, you'd more see into the lobby space, and then there would be a second, a storefront system there. But it's proposed to be transparent, so that people who were inside the space could stand there and look into the pool.
How many feet between the front windows and that interstitial wall, as you call it?
Don't
Approximately.
remember from this, but enough that there's a coffee bar, a dry bar, a lobby space, and a gathering space between the two. So it's set back maybe 20 feet, somewhere along that range.
This is,
I could get you an actual answer to that after Mr. Giosa's testimony. if you'd like.
and just, thank you, just confirming, I'm sorry, I'm trying to read numbers, really. This is an update from the April 22nd site submission, is that true? Is that the one right before this? I'm sorry.
The one right before this was in,
Sorry, the one that showed the rendering.
this is an update to the most recent
Rendering, which I think is initial date April 22nd. That's what I can find, but I'm
This
not
one
sure I'm
says-
correct.
This says May 22nd on this
Right.
as the revision.
Right.
But a revision 2,
Initial
Yeah.
date is April 22nd. Okay, I'm just trying to see the before and
Yep,
after.
yep, this is a progression of the most recent facade renovation. So if you removed the sign and that cladded wood paneling detail, it would be the exact same facade that was presented at the last meeting by me.
And since this is a new angle, these are the existing parking that's next to the other store, to the
These are the
Talbots?
Talbots.
Talbots, okay. And it comes right up to your building?
Yeah, our building is on their parking signs are on a small median between the site. The entirety of that median is on our property.
Got it, thanks.
The owner has also asked if we would place those signs on our building, and we have no issue placing those signs on the building, because he would have to remove them as they encroach onto our property.
does that trigger a sign review of any sort? If there are
I think he said
parking
that,
signs mounted on the wall?
no, I don't think that would. That would be, that doesn't trigger a site plan review, it doesn't trigger the planning board, but you're putting, what you're proposing is parking signs on the side where, for the Talbots?
What we've said is, there is a series of identifying signs along that. There,
Yeah.
certain people have reserved spots.
I think every spot has a sign.
And
right
those
now.
signs currently sit on our property.
Right.
And the next door property neighbor did ask us that if during this we could apply them to our building to maintain that signage, he would appreciate it. He would also put them between his parking curb and the building if they didn't. But we are happy to accommodate that request.
That normally wouldn't require site plan review or approval by the planning board for that
Okay,
kind of
that's,
signage.
I just want to check, since that's new information. I mean, it seems reasonable and seems like it would make more sense to put them on the building than it would to install a signpost there.
I think so.
Just a clarification, your building goes, just meets the property line at that location?
That's right.
At their driveway? Just the way this looks, it appears that there's no bollard or there's no parking
Wheel stop?
wheel
There's no
stop.
protection, right?
No
For the
protection.
building.
There are wheel stops on the other property owner's site that would not be disturbed by this. They weren't captured in this rendering.
Which will prevent them
They
from
will
going.
prevent them from hitting.
So is it correct that all the LED strip lighting is above the canopy, we'll call it?
It is.
Okay, so there's no lighting that comes down with that extra accent on the, near the southern portion of the facade?
The voids of that accent, when you see through the void, you would see some of the internal, because there's glass behind it. So you would see internal illumination coming through those voids, but there's no
But there's no LED strip
There's no
light to
LED
continue
strip.
the wave,
That's correct.
lit wave pattern coming down?
That's correct.
Okay. Questions from the board about this? Questions from the public about this witness's testimony? Just come on up to the lectern. Please give us your name and address.
Hi, Holly Felber.
Just,
Barbara.
is that one on?
Hello?
It doesn't, you try.
Can you tap on it? Tap on the,
Okay, Holly
There you go.
Felber.
Thank you.
Sure. I own Barbara Eclectic, 594 Valley Road. Last meeting, I asked about when exhibits needed to be uploaded to the website so that the public could have adequate time to review them. Tonight, you passed out lots of pictures. You didn't give any to the public. Can the public see what this whole conversation was about? And can it be
Well,
held
let
up
'em
to
an-
the
let 'em-
camera so that people who are watching on YouTube can also see it?
That part I don't know, but let him answer the first part.
I'm happy to give you a copy of this. This is not a proposed change to the application. It is an exhibit, but it's something that a member of the board requested an attention to the detail. It doesn't change what we're requesting. I will let Angelo answer. I don't believe it is a document that is required to be uploaded 10 days in advance because it doesn't alter the application anyway, but I have a copy here and I have 2 extra copies if you want.
Great. And that's fine that it doesn't have to be, but out of courtesy to all of us who've attended so many meetings and are so interested in this project. And then I would like to ask a question of you that I asked at a previous meeting, and that is, what color will the LED lights be on the facade of the building?
We don't have a strict preference to the color. We would be, I think, if Norberto's memo has in it a suggested Kelvin temperature, we would happily agree to that suggested Kelvin temperature. If the board wants to make a condition on the Kelvin temperature, we would agree to that as well. I mean, in my head, it's a warm glow LED. It's certainly not like a bright white.
Right.
But that
Okay,
that can only be confirmed by agreeing to a Kelvin temperature in advance, and I'm happy to agree to a Kelvin temperature.
Great.
Mr.
Thank-
Hernandez, do you
thank
recall
you.
what that suggested Kelvin temperature was?
It was 3,500 if I remember correctly.
I can double check my report and see.
Okay.
I don't recall offhand.
So a warm color, so it won't look like the lighting in a CVS. It'll look more like in a home. It'll be more rich and expensive looking.
Like more yellow and warm
Okay.
than white.
Thank you.
It's probably closer to 2,600 than
And
3,500.
I'm happy to, if we
Thir-
want
three-
it to be yellow and warm, so.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3,000 Kelvin is a cool white, I believe. 5,000 is daylight. 2,600 is a warm white. Going, more yellow as you go lower.
Yep.
Other questions of this witness's about this witness's testimony?
Hi, my name is Jan Hoffman. I live at 193 Cooper Avenue, almost in visual sight of your projected school. Quick question, if you know. Do you know, because I haven't heard any testimony yet, roughly how long you anticipate construction to go on, and during what hours, what the noise level will be and your parking needs?
I don't-
Realistic,
Yeah,
not optimistic.
No. Realistically, this is a 12 to 16-month construction period from the day we break ground until the day the building is likely open and occupied. That is based on my experience building in Montclair and building, on sites around this size, of which I've done a number of projects in town. The actual logistics around the construction is not something that we've gotten clarity on yet, because we haven't engaged a general contractor. We haven't been approved by this board to engage a general contractor in that. I would happily, my methodology is normally to meet with neighbors and meet with stakeholders before we break ground on anything, to make sure that we're accommodating for any intrusion that we would provide. In terms of construction hours, the town does have designated construction hours. We would have we don't propose to exceed them. I don't remember exactly what they are. I think it's 9 to 6 on weekends, and I think
On
it's-
weekends?
There are construction hours weekdays and weekends. They differ between the weekdays and the weekends.
And you know that you're in right in the intersection of, we're right around two churches three actually, that go to have services on Sundays.
Yes,
St. James, Union, Cong,
and St. Cassius.
and St. Cassius.
Yes.
Okay. And so you don't even know yet roughly how many parking spaces for trucks and construction crews you'll need?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay, thank you. And just a quick question to the board. My husband was here during the last meeting, and I was watching on YouTube. I was under the impression, clearly wrong, that the parking expert was going to come back for further questions from the public since we had to cut it off. So we won't have any opportunity to ask questions of the project for parking in terms of the variance issues?
Is your parking expert here?
No, he's not.
Yeah, we thought they'd gone to public comment on parking at that time. Right, and he concluded his testimony. We didn't intend to bring him this evening.
My recollection of his testimony was that he would be here this evening. And I believe that, because I wasn't here, right, but I listened to the YouTube video, and I believe we cut the meeting off at 11 o'clock with the understanding that, your parking expert would be back to, receive additional questions from the public and also to respond to Mr. Giosa's report and give the board additional, time to ask questions of him as well.
Our parking expert is not here this evening. If there are further questions, my recollection, I reviewed older meetings before I reviewed the last one. My recollection was that we concluded our parking testimony. We did expect there to be, we did expect Mr. Giosa's report. I don't know that I saw anything in Mr. Giosa's report that informed that there is more data to collect or more testimony to put on. We do have some questions about how Mr. Giosa's report was generated and some of the assumptions that were made. If this board is looking for an answer from our parking expert on something they don't feel that we've given them, we will bring back our parking expert for further questioning.
I think we cut things off with the understanding that A, it was late, and B, he would be here to continue receiving questions about his testimony from the public. So that, and it's fresh in my mind because I just listened to it recently.
Understood.
So that was my recollection as well. So I think that is something that we'll want. I mean, we can see how the meeting goes tonight, but I also think the public is entitled to finish asking their questions of the witness.
I thought we ended after he was done and after the public was done.
Well, he finished his
The public was
testimony, but
not
then the public
I'm not
was...
arguing the point. My recollection was that questions were asked. I didn't know that there were more questions. I thought it was more about the response to Mr. Giosa's report. And after reading Mr. Giosa's report, I did not feel as though there was further testimony to put on, but I'm happy to have him back at a meeting that we can schedule.
You obviously want him back, so we'll bring him back.
Yeah.
Okay, that works. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You're welcome. Oh, Mr.
Chairman,
Hernandez.
yeah, if I could just go back to the previous point about the lighting. The report didn't discuss specific lighting temperatures. It discussed foot candle lighting levels, illumination levels. So I would agree.
Mr. Chair Broddock's recommendation on 2600.
I don't know if it's a recommendation. It's just I'm telling you what I've put in my house.
Happy to put
for Kelvin temperatures.
Kelvin temperature condition on the application.
Yeah, and we can work on that as a condition of approval.
Okay, that would be fine if you all want to work on that. It would make sense. Miss.
Hi, I'm Lisanne Renner, Godfrey Road, Montclair. I had a procedural question. With the new proposed facade, does that need to go back to the HPC for review?
I will look at planner tally.
It does not, no.
No?
No. Unless the board decides to send it back to the HPC. The HPC is strictly advisory, and they've reviewed the previous application, and we'll see. The board can say they want to have additional review by the HPC. They can condition the approval upon that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't think Mr. Genova, sorry, to someone else.
We've got more. I'll let you know if I don't see anybody coming.
Hi, Don Felber, raised in Upper Montclair and a business owner at 594 Valley Road. right down the street. I am looking at this, and it looks like there are definitely color changes and facade changes to the wood. This looks more wood than was in the original revised plan that you submitted a couple of weeks ago.
Is that
Am
a
I
question?
wrong?
Is that a question? Is this different wood color?
Is this different?
It's not.
So the tone over here, the white tone over here is on the plan that you resubmitted 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, last meeting?
Are you talking about the cladding or the brick?
Both,
facade?
because it,
We did not propose a color change for the cladding of the brick facade.
but this clearly looks like, do you have a picture of the submitted building
I do.
plans that you resubmitted with the changes that they ordered?
There were a series of revisions. The first application, the first place the application was heard was the Historic Preservation Commission. They gave comments that did inform a brick color and a wood cladding color change. It also informed some of the other storefront detail change. That was incorporated prior to the original planning board
Correct.
application hearing. After the first planning board application hearing, there were comments from the public and from the board that gave us a second round of changes. That round of changes was largely in the percentage of glass and the storefront
Correct.
fenestration detail, but not in the brick and in the wood color. And so the color is the original color that was proposed to the planning board after the HPC's comments.
So, and this swale here was not in the original, or the revised?
The under
That's-
the canopy portion of the cladding is new.
Correct.
The last revision allowed for the wave only over the canopy, so the under the canopy portion of the cladding is part of this revision. The second component of the revision is the sign being over the front door as opposed to being over the canopy on the roof.
And is this wood now, material that you're using?
It's not a true wood. It is a wood look
Composite.
material, composite material, but it didn't change in color. I mean, this is a sunlight version with shadows. It may just be appearing brighter based on how the rendering looks.
'Cause
But we are not proposing changes to the brick or to the cladding.
Yeah, the white portion on the side looks a lot more white than the revised, and the softer tone, the wood tone, looks a lot more blonde, if you will, which is fine, but I think that this is a
Well,
substantial
this
change.
is the time for questions
Yeah, it's
of
still
the
that-
witness.
it's still
This is
that.
what you're proposing.
That's right.
They submitted the
Okay.
material, so this has
And-
not changed.
Then, so that's the color of the white over here.
Right, I don't have a color sample for the wood.
That's right.
Right. And so it's a little difficult because we weren't given this in advance, just to make comparisons to the original revised edition. But I still think it needs to go back to the.
Well,
historic
hang on.
preservation.
It's not time for comments, it's time for questions.
Yeah. I'm done.
You'll have a
Thanks.
chance for comments. So just so everybody.
Understood.
Just so everybody understands here, since they're coming back with their parking expert, we won't get to comments on the overall application until after that happens. So by the end of this evening, we will let everybody know when this will be continued to. And likely at that time, at that date, they'll finish all their witnesses, all the testimony, and then it'll be time for the public to provide comments on the application. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I came in late. Mr. Genova, you are David's father, is that correct? You may have identified yourself as such.
Question being directed to council.
It is.
David Jr., is this your father?
It is.
Okay, did I miss something? Did you?
For Mr.
identify
Angelo
that
Genova?
Before I got here, because I did arrive late.
Did I identify, Mr. Genova put his appearance on the record before you got here.
Okay. Thank you.
He did. And we asked him about his credentials. Other questions from the public about this witness's testimony? I see none. And Mr. Angelo Genova, make sure you're using your microphone when you speak.
Well,
Thank you.
you can refer to me as counsel, probably a lot easier
Counsel?
tonight.
Okay.
How's that sound?
I was trying to
okay?
figure out how to refer to
Yeah,
both of
that's
you as
right.
Mr.
The
Genova.
applicant's Mr. Genova, and you can just call me counsel.
Okay.
I believe we have nothing further from this witness, and I think the floor is your witness, Mr. Giosa.
Okay. Mr. Giosa, let's get you sworn in and you can tell us about your report.
Nice to see you, Mr. Giosa.
Good to see you too. It's good to be here.
Now tell me, Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Would you please state your full name and business affiliation for the record?
My name is Gerard Giosa. I am the president of Level G Associates. We are parking consultants and have been a long-time parking consultant to the Montclair Planning Board as well.
And you're serving tonight as a consultant for the planning board, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
So I was able to review all of the documents that have been submitted with respect to parking in this application. That included comments in the planning report, in the engineer's report, as well as the applicant's expert testimony. And my report is divided into three basic sections, and one is essentially a reiteration of the comments from the planning board report and from the engineer's report. The second section has to do with some issues I perceive might arise with respect to the layout of the parking lot that they're proposing. And the third portion of the report, and probably the most detailed, is comments regarding the parking management plan and the expected impact that it will have on the environment, the walking distance, the parking service area around the proposed swim school. So with respect to the first group of comments, these were comments previously brought forward by in the township's planning report and the engineer's report, and those I'll quickly summarize. There was some concern about an undersized parking stall that should be labeled a compact car space. There was concern raised about the need for the applicant to obtain a permanent easement to allow ingress and egress from the township's Upper Montclair parking lot. Similarly, the applicant would need would need permission to remove a parking stall in that parking lot. And finally, they were also raising concerns about the parking management plan. So those were simply reiterated in my report. With respect to some of the geometric concerns that I have, the first one is pickup drop-off activity. And when I heard the applicant testify about birthday parties, very often at a facility such as this, especially for the older kids, the 10, 11, 12-year-olds, the kids will not necessarily be accompanied by the parent into the facility. It's more of a pickup drop-off situation. So I noticed there was really no pickup drop-off areas that have been designated or set aside on the plan. So that was one thing I noticed. And that in the situation, I noted that the drive aisle in the parking lot and the entrance driveway coming up the side of the building will likely serve as de facto pickup drop-off areas, even though they are not designed to do so. There were some concerns about parking stall geometry and the location of the crosswalk in the parking lot, in the proposed parking lot, where some of the stalls, the parking movements will back directly into that crosswalk, and that is typically something you don't see and is counter to best practice in parking lot layout design. So that kind of summarizes the geometric concerns that we had. Finally, getting on to the parking management plan, I did an extensive review of the applicant's testimony at last month's meeting, where he the main thrust of his testimony had to do with a bar graph that he brought into to show everyone and to illustrate how the parking demand generated by the project could be accommodated. So I thought that a good way to get across some of the parking concerns in terms of supply and demand was to use that same graphic and then build upon it some categories of parking and that need to be accommodated. So in the report at the top of page 5, you'll see the bar graph submitted by the client at the last meeting, by the applicant at the last meeting. And the bars show counts that they performed on October 8th, 2025, and a peak count of 220 cars parked in 263 spaces in their proposed catchment area. Now, just a quick note, that proposed catchment area that they were discussing at the last meeting did not include any residential streets. It was all metered parking, public parking, but not in the neighborhoods. So that was the supply that they were putting forward as the parking supply that's going to be used by the swim school. So building upon their peak condition, which was noted at 4:40 p.m., I added the Swim Quest customers. I added displaced parkers because when I did a site visit, I noticed there were 11 cars parked on the site. So assuming they clear the site and they put up this new building, those 11 cars are going to need some place to go, and I assume it's going to be within the study area. So I included those on the demand side of the equation, and I included them on top of this, on top of the 4:40 p.m. bar. Then I added parking demand that could be expected from the Bellevue Theater. The counts that were performed on October 8th, 2025 were conducted before the theater opened up. So, so using some common formulas and actually a very conservative estimate, I've estimated what the impact of the Bellevue Theater parking demand would have on adding to this particular bar. And finally, I added the Swim Quest employees, which I believe they said was expected to be about 10 employees per shift, because they have not noted exactly where those employees will be parking, and very often I've noticed that even though the employees may have a designated parking spot somewhere, they're public parkers just like the rest of us. They may choose to park elsewhere if it's more convenient for them, and I've found in past studies that they often do choose to do so. So I included that demand as well. Putting that all together, just the demand from the Swim Quest customers plus the displaced parkers would bring us to a total parking demand of 256 cars in a 263 space supply, which would leave only 7 spots open in their 263 space catchment area. If you added these other categories that I discussed, including the Bellevue Theater and the employees, that number increases to 301 cars parked in the 263 space supply, which would exceed the actual parking supply by 38 spaces, and it would also exceed the quote-unquote feels full capacity, which is 90%, by 64 cars. And that feels full capacity of 90% was discussed by the applicant's expert at the last meeting, and that's a well-known, parking phenomenon where when a parking supply is 90% full, 90% occupied, it generally feels full to the customer because some of the parking spaces are difficult to access. Some of them are, we have cars pulling in and pulling out. So just to give it some context, adding in the Bellevue Theater and the employees into the catchment area, the total demand would exceed the feels full capacity by 64 cars. And what I've concluded is that the local residential streets, such as Cooper, Northview, and perhaps Summit, are currently free parking with a 2 or 4 hour time limit, and there's already some evidence of some business district parking creeping into these neighborhoods. It is likely that because of the demand numbers that we're talking about, that there's going to be an intensification of business district parking pressure on these local streets. So that wraps up, summarizes what you could find in the report. But if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to discuss them.
Questions from the board for Mr. Giosa about his report?
I do.
Sure, Mr. Neese.
You added back 11 cars because 11 cars are on site. I thought the building was not occupied, and there were.
The building is not occupied, but the parking lot that surrounds the building is still blacktop and striped as a parking lot.
I see.
And there were cars parked in those spaces through some type of arrangement, I would imagine, with the current landowner.
Mr. Genova.
If I could just answer where those 11 cars come from. There are two verbal parking agreements that we've made. One is for the fire department for personal vehicles, so that during shift change now, we've spoken at length about fire department shift change. Until this property is in construction, I've given them unfettered access to the site so that they don't have to move any cars for shift change. So they can park some personal vehicles on the north side of the property, and then the shift can come in and replace them in the rear of the fire department. And additionally, a neighboring building, Jason Tire, had an overage of vehicles being dropped off. He ran out of parking on his site for a few vehicles that were being dropped off for service. I've given him the ability to have the vehicles dropped across the street. So I don't believe that, I don't know, I wasn't there when Mr. Giosa was there. I can't say there wasn't a road parker on site, but I don't believe that they are just the public abusing it. We have put out A-frame signs on the ingress to the parking lot currently that state that the parking lot is closed and subject to tow if you don't have an agreement to park there. Those A-frame signs do blow over sometimes. People move them and get in. People go in the egress instead of the ingress. So it's not entirely impossible, but we are not surprised that there are some amount of vehicles on the site that we don't believe are just the public shopping.
Do the numbers play out? I think you said there were 2 from the fire department, and then not. Would you say?
The fire department, I didn't put a maximum number of spots that they could use. They've told me that on a shift change, it could be moving somewhere between, I think, 7 and 11 cars, depending on which shift and when. So it wouldn't surprise me. I've noticed more than 5 or 6, fire department vehicles in there. They have placards in the front of their vehicles, identifying that they're in the fire department. And then Jason Tire, the fire department has been using the north side of the parking lot. Jason Tire's been using the south side of the parking lot. And again, they're not shopping. Those are vehicles that would sit on his site waiting for service, and he had a surge in that.
What time is the fire department shift change?
8 a.m.
8 a.m. And Mr. Giosa, when did you do your evaluation?
It was in the afternoon, I would say sometime between 3:30 and 4:30 p.m.
Okay. So
on a weekday.
would those likely be the fire department personal
The
vehicles?
cars are there all the time because it's not like they go into one spot and then wait for the shift change and come out. It's some people are parking on our site, some people are parking behind the building. Whoever's leaving earliest to go. I mean, there were cars parked there on my way here last meeting, so at 7 o'clock. Yeah, there were fire department vehicles parked in our parking.
Well, it sounds different than the testimony that we heard from, was it the deputy fire chief that was here? 'Cause
Lisa.
when-
I don't think.
Mike
the
Lisa.
behavior they're
Lisa?
having now,
Mr. Lisa?
I think they have the freedom of parking on our site, and I think they've taken advantage of that in a way that I'm comfortable with, but they're not operating in the same way as they would once the building was built, and they're not operating in the same way they were before the bank, when the bank was operating. They're operating as though they have the right to park on our site as a courtesy, and they do.
I'm just trying to understand how all this plays out, right? We've heard testimony that there's going to be no curb between the two properties, the fire department and your property, so that they can move their cars in and out when they need to. We've heard testimony that somewhere around 7 a.m., if I recall the testimony correctly, they start moving personal vehicles out onto your property or onto the road to accommodate the next shift coming in and the personal vehicles of those folks coming in. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah.
how this is actually going to work.
The
Like,
rear of their space is not a properly lined,
correct.
engineered parking.
I think we heard that from
And-
Mr. Lisa. Is that how you pronounce his last name? Lisa?
Yes. And so when they are restricted to that property only, it requires some stacking, it
Mhm.
requires some integration and some tight squeezes like a New York City, parking lot or garage. They just aren't pressured to do that currently. So while they may be able to, and from what I understand, and I won't testify to what Mr. Lisa said, but from what I understand, when the bank was operating, they lived using the spaces that they have behind the building, albeit tight and stacked. Right now, they have the freedom not to do that. And I think it's just human nature that somebody says, why am I moving my car? I'll just pull into the chase. I have permission to do that. And we've given them permission to do that. So I'm not saying that nobody on our site was a public parker. I'm just putting on the record who is permitted to park there today. And the fire department has not asked for any permanent parking in our lot. They've not asked for that relationship to extend further than the downtime that this building is facing.
Okay. Other questions from the board? Mr. Ian Wally.
I have a couple questions. So the catchment area, the revised catchment area 263, you agree with that, right? The 263 spaces that was proposed, and your report says you looked at it and that catchment area is okay in your mind? In other words, you didn't come up with 250, you came up with 263 too, as being that area?
Yeah, on page 5, you'll see that there's a little table.
Yeah, I see, that's what I'm looking at.
That
Yeah.
has what I've assumed is the 263, because they didn't specify exactly how the 263 was composed.
Oh, then I have another question.
But-
How was the 263 composed? Because, okay.
He did mention the
And also
numbers.
with the Erie lot too. So just, first question is, are all these spaces at 263, excuse me, do they exclude all permit spaces, all other spaces that aren't public parking?
I believe that their expert testified that they did not include permitted spaces or handicap stalls. It would just be spaces that are
Okay.
available to the public.
And then, what's your evaluation of how the train station lot has, that has 68 spaces that are always available to the public? Because I thought that's largely used by the
Commuters.
commuters. So and we did have, I think there was some discussion about that, but we never really got a conclusion on that. So how does that,
My,
I guess
my,
the
my
simple-
recollection of the testimony was that the applicant's parking expert was going to reach out to Mr. Germano?
Yes, Manny
Of
Germano,
the parking
superintendent.
superintendent, thank you. I'm struggling a bit tonight here. Parking superintendent to maybe get some more clarity on that. That I thought was another thing that maybe your parking expert would be testifying to this evening.
That is something that we can put on his agenda for the next time he comes in.
Thank you.
The fact that we didn't see a dispute to the methodology in Mr. Giosa's report kind of confirmed for me.
What do we mean, no dispute? What are you talking about?
There were no questions about whether or not the spots were properly assigned or properly allocated. That was not.
No, I think we spoke, yeah, I mean, there were questions.
Mr. report doesn't.
Oh, right, right.
But the board had questions about
That's what I'm asking about.
some of those numbers.
I'm asking about whether he,
So I believe, and I did review the testimony, I believe the issue is whether the train station lot was for permit parkers only. And based on my review, the stalls on the interior of that lot are all, I believe they're either permit or they're available to the public with Park Mobile through the app. So I was able to pull into one of those spots, enter the zone number.
yeah,
And it would cost me $5.35 to park for 8 hours in one of those 40 spots.
okay,
So
In one of the
theory,
40.
on a Saturday,
yeah.
those 40 spots would, in all likelihood, be available. Maybe not all of them, but a good number of them would be. But you'd have to pay $5.35, and they're close to 1,000 feet, or
But then there's
excess of
68,
1,000 feet from
there's
the site.
68 spaces that are counted on the, in the table. So I guess that's my just general question. Out of the 68, how many of the 68 are really available? When? I mean,
My
so can they
estimate is
be
40.
appropriately counted to support the parking in this alternate catchment area? Because we did have a question about how the permit parking interplays with this calculation.
And I think another thing we didn't understand is, I think Ms. Talley said they might be open to the public but not signed as such. So is it really, if they're not signed as open to the public, are they really open to the public? This is the lot on the New York City bound side of the train station, correct?
My
Right.
understanding, and this is what we had to also confirm with Mr. Germano, is that if the spots are not occupied, during the week, if they're not occupied by 10 o'clock in the morning by a commuter, they are available to the public. And I believe the time is 10 o'clock. I just have to confirm that.
And is that signed?
It's not signed.
Okay, so how would one know that?
You wouldn't know that.
Okay, so in all intents and purposes, somebody looking for a spot might not park there because they think they would get a ticket.
Right.
Like I don't know if I can park near Watchung Books in that lot. So I just shop
It's
really
not signed,
quickly.
yeah.
So I don't get a ticket, but maybe I could park there after 10 o'clock as well. I have no idea. Okay, thank you.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Ian Wally?
Oh, yeah, and then, do you want to ask about operational? Yeah, because,
Yeah, I was just, did you have an opinion?
Is your microphone on, Mr. Borshoff?
Yes.
Thank you. I knew it was. I just wanted to, I couldn't see the light from here.
My voice doesn't project at all. Thank you. I know we chatted through over the last couple of sessions the expectation of about 5 classes every 30 minutes, between 1 to 3 students per class, right? So I was just curious, and as you were going through the availability and kind of confirming the parking report that you provided on operational demand, has there been, I just don't think that we've really chatted or like talked through what the expectation is on the actual operational demand, how many cars we anticipate coming through every 30 minutes, right? So if it's 15, it's 15 students, how many cars potentially are going to just be rotating through, and whether or not those calculations were entered into kind of like your assessment at all.
Yeah, the thing about this application is swim school is not a readily available land use that you can open a reference book and find out what the parking demand generated by a swim school is. You know, if it were an office building or medical offices or retail stores, you get a pretty good idea. So therefore, you know, we have to go on what the testimony of the applicant was. And for me, it sounded very plausible to have 18, you know, cars per shift and then have the overlap for the 36 cars. So, you know, that explanation seemed fine with me, and I thought their assumption of the 36 cars was acceptable. I didn't find anything strange about it.
Thanks.
Okay.
Did you have more questions? That was the question? Okay. Are there other questions from the board for Mr. Giosa?
Just as a matter of process, so you brought up, or I guess this is for the rest of the board, some concerns, let's say, about the parking lot and the maneuvers. How does that, if their parking expert isn't here, would they address those at the next meeting?
I think so. I mean, I think
I mean, like the pulling back into the crosswalk, how would that, who addresses that and who talks about that?
it sounds like council was going to cross-examine Mr. Giosa and perhaps shed some light in their opinion on what that is, or your parking expert.
We bifurcated our parking testimony between two experts. We had our civil engineer who testified mostly to site logistics and mostly to turning radiuses and everything else related to how the parking lot interacts with the building. For instance, one of the comments in Mr. Giosa's memo was around the crosswalk. The crosswalk was a revision to our plan from our DRC meeting, where it suggested that it be placed on the building with a diagonal, you know, out to that existing stair in the rear Upper Montclair Plaza lot. So that revision and that testimony was done by our civil engineer. Our parking expert, is your microphone on?
No.
Our parking expert was tasked with looking at the neighborhood parking and the district parking needs, and what kinds of counts and what kinds of impact a parking variance on this site might have on those needs. So I'm interpreting and gathering information based on what you guys are saying, and it sounds like we need a response to both. In terms of the civil engineering question about the site logistics, he did answer on site a number of questions. Him and the town engineer had a back and forth about certain things. My memory is that we agreed to some conditions that need to be part of a condition of approval. If you wanted to see them as a revised further exhibit, I'm happy to, but there was a question about, you know, what the distance was from the parking curb and whether or not that space was functionally obsolete or not, or whether it just became a compact car spot. And I believe those questions were answered to the board engineer's, I don't want to say his satisfaction, but I believe the questions were answered in a way that provided clarification to those points. If a revision is something that the board would like to see, or if simply an incorporation of the board engineer's memo as a condition is something that the board would like to see, we're comfortable with both of those things. But if we're talking about the civil engineering design on the site, that for us would be a different expert to return than the parking expert who studied off-site parking and simply looked at our site for a count, not for a site circulation issue.
I think it'd be helpful to have your civil engineer come back to respond to this, because I think there are legitimate concerns raised by Mr. Giosa, and I think it would behoove you as the applicant to have somebody explain or rebut or engage Mr. Giosa and, you know,
We will.
Back and forth, whatever makes sense, but just to have somebody respond to that, I think would be helpful, because
We will.
clearly the board also has those questions as well.
Understood.
I'm just looking to see if I had any other questions that the board didn't raise. Mr. Giosa, what's your thought on, and apologize if it's in your report and I didn't pick up on it. What's your thought on the distance for that Bellevue Erie lot being part of the catchment area? And perhaps, my thinking on this is not fully on the distance, but also just crossing railroad tracks. How do people, do you have a sense for how people react to that? I mean, is that a perceived barrier of sorts?
That lot, some of the spaces in that lot are over 1,000 feet from the proposed back door of the swim school. In my experience in doing parking studies, and we've done origin destination studies in Morristown, Englewood, other towns throughout New Jersey, the 85th percentile walking distance typically comes in, I've estimated in this downtown, between 750 and 800 feet. So that's the distance that 85% of the parkers will find an acceptable walking distance. Beyond that, you're talking about, folks that, don't mind parking further. You're talking about 15% of the population, or perhaps our long-term parkers, employees. So certainly, spaces in that lot could be used by employees, and then when they walk over 1,000 feet to get to work, that's common. So, but for the general parker, I would say that those spaces are distant, especially if you have a young kid with you.
And it sounded from your testimony tonight and also from your report that perhaps some of those folks would park in the residential areas rather than the Bellevue Erie lot.
That's correct. I postulated that could indeed happen, especially since spaces in the parking in the residential neighborhoods are free, and they could be free and closer.
Okay.
So that's what caused me to surmise that the project could intensify pressure, business district parking pressure on that local neighborhood.
Okay. And you had said earlier tonight, I believe, that they didn't do counts. The applicant's parking expert did not do counts for the local streets and the residential streets?
I believe they did as part of the larger catchment area, but they were not, those counts weren't included in the smaller catchment area. The smaller catchment area only included commercial type public spaces.
Okay.
I have one, this should be a really quick question. I apologize for not asking it before. In the catchment area, the metered spaces on Valley and Cooper, I'm assuming the metered space on Cooper goes from Valley to Northview, and then where on Valley, where are the spaces that are on Valley that are in these metered spaces that are counted in the catchment area? There's 39 of them. Do you know?
I believe they go as far north as Lorraine.
Lorraine, okay.
And as far south as...
It's Brick Lane. Yeah, Brick Lane Restaurant.
The Brick.
Okay, but nothing on Bellevue. There's no metered spaces on Bellevue that were in that.
There are metered spaces on Bellevue, but I don't.
But not in this.
I don't think he mentioned them.
Okay.
In his testimony last
Okay.
night.
It may be helpful to have a little more clarity from the parking expert, because that was my recollection too, was that we've got his report, and then there was this smaller catchment area that was the focus of the testimony. Like having that in writing so that the board, the public, Mr. Giosa can look at it, I think would be helpful before you all return. And also, I think it might be helpful too, if it's not captured in that parking report, just the testimony about the times, and this was a request from one of our board members, the times of the sessions, how many people are kind of coming and going. We just talked about 18 times 2 is 36. Having that in some sort of table just to help the board grasp, all of that, because, as you know, this is going on for a few months, and trying to keep all this testimony in our heads, sometimes it's a little challenging.
That times, just to clarify, our operator did speak to that at the last meeting. That was peak, so that wasn't intended to be a full day turnover. that was peak times and what the capacity essentially is of the pool. And so our parking expert was tasked with the charge of, and I think one of the board members mentioned it, if I didn't hear it at this meeting, I heard it for another meeting that you just had about a parking variance, was tell me about the worst case scenario. Tell me about what this looks like at its peak. And so we attempted to accomplish that by giving a compressed radius and a peak time and a peak demand on swim class to show that we still don't exceed the capacity that's in there, but we will create a more detailed table of expected occupancy on the pool, expected class size on the pool, and we will tie that to the parking counts as they've been captured.
Okay, and I'd like to hear two more as you put that together, the parties, right?
Yeah, sure.
The educational side of this, which I didn't hear a lot of testimony at the last meeting about parking for the educational side.
I'm sorry, are you calling the parties the educational side?
I believe so, isn't that? This is the,
I would think
or
that's
sorry,
the
the play,
play
sorry, that's the play side,
of the
excuse me, the
education.
educational play center, yes.
Yeah, we will tie in parties as well.
That would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay. I don't have any more questions for Ms. Giosa. Mr. Neese, is it their turn before the public, right? To ask Mr. Giosa questions?
Yes. I have a question, Mr. Giosa. It's probably not fair to put you in the position, but how do you envision the driveway and the rear yard will be used for pickup and drop-off? I guess we should get that from the applicant's expert, but does that, I read in your report that kind of created some kind of issue for you, and if you could explain that.
I did a study of a birthday party place on Long Island called Cool Mess, and their applicant, it was an ice cream store and the kids make ice cream, but their applicant was describing it's a birthday party, it's birthday parties, and they know there's going to be pickup drop-off activity. So it became a topic of conversation for this birthday party activity. So, kids jumping out of cars and, running into the birthday place. And so it's something that popped into my mind when I heard their testimony about birthday parties. So I figured I would bring it up to see if, the application had some sort of response in terms of, their experience with such a thing.
Did you have a critique of any kind concerning dropping off in the driveway? I thought it was a little clearer to me that I think your report was somewhat critical of the fact that there would be dropping off in the driveway as well as in the rear.
Simply because the driveway is not designed. There are no designated pickup drop-off spots, for.
Would that be appropriate for an application like this to have a pickup and drop-off spot? Or, because they're having people coming in,
Yep.
18, as many as 18 at any given point in time.
They could, and also there's the arrivals are in compressed time periods. So the party starts at 1 p.m. and you get a compressed arrival of vehicles at the same time. The same thing for the departure. So it's just something I thought I'd point out. Again, I'm not a traffic engineer. I'm a parking expert. So my testimony was limited to what I saw as the parking areas, and it's just something that I've seen in my general parking knowledge. Just wondering how the pickup drop-off activity in the applicant's mind would be handled.
Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Genova, it was my understanding from your expert who was doing the operation of the, I believe, Milburn facility, that in the 580, Valley Road facility, there would be no child coming in the facility without a parent, which really meant that there was going to be no drop-off at 580 Valley Road.
You're asking me to clarify that
Is-
point?
am I-
I think Mr. Giosa, when he talks about birthday parties don't tend to be the same age kids that don't know how to swim, right? So the kids who are learning how to swim are likely not going to a birthday party at a swimming pool until they know how to swim, which puts them at a slightly older age where it might be more appropriate. I don't want to put words in Mr. Giosa's mouth, but I imagine that that's where that testimony came from, is birthday parties, you have a higher likelihood of dropping kids off to go to a swim party because they're probably older. They're probably older than at least some core of our clientele, some core of SwimQuest's clientele. SwimQuest operates from 6 months up to 12 or 13 years of age. And so these are likely on the older side, kids that are having birthday parties. I am not a traffic or parking expert, but I would imagine the older the kid gets, the more they understand behavior around vehicles, danger around parking lots, and danger around accessing and getting into spaces. So if their parents have reached an age where they're comfortable dropping them off, I can't dispute that that's not a possibility. We did not design a specific drop-off area because the design of this site was very intentional and very specific, and it had more than one goal in mind, but mostly it was to drive traffic through it, which created the inability to put a dead end. Not that this site would have had the size to put a cul-de-sac or anything that you could have put in to drop off and drive around, but it was to drive through the site. And we believe the parking spaces on the site will have different behaviors based on what's happening in the pool. There will be parents who take the spots and bring their kid in and sit with their kid. There will be parents who take the spots to make sure their kid goes in and then will leave. There will be parents who drop their kids off at birthday parties and use that parking infrastructure. And there will be parents who drop their kids off at birthday parties that may park in a metered spot or park somewhere else, just like they would if they dropped their kids off at one of the other businesses in Upper Montclair or a residential home for a birthday party. They would park, make sure that there's safe access, and then leave. Birthday parties, one of the things our operator did testify to is birthday parties are isolated to after closing hours on weekends only. So they're not a daily activity. They are not multiple times a week. The most there could be is 2. It's a little hard to gauge what the demand would be in a market that SwimQuest hasn't been in historically. But over there, I don't remember the exact number, but he testified to the number of total birthday parties across the 4 locations, and it was not a tremendously high number that they had over the past month. So I don't disagree with Mr. Giosa's interpretation of what may happen as it relates to dropping off, but I do think it's important to note that these are likely not the same parents as kids who are in the school at much younger ages throughout the week.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any last? Yeah, I know there's always going to be more. That's why I keep asking.
All right. Mr. Giosa, question for you. I'm curious how much your perspective considered folks that might be patronizing other businesses in the area that might try to leverage the parking here. Whether we need to consider controls around the parking element here, or just how it might impact the counts that you shared earlier.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Sure.
I missed the first part.
So there's a number of businesses, obviously, in the area.
Okay.
New restaurants that are coming online, et cetera. I'm curious to what extent your perspective considered the additional parking, that's just the demand, the increase in demand in the area, and folks that might try to use this parking space, this location specifically, to take advantage of that.
Yeah, that latent demand was not included in my analysis. The only demand that I added to their counts was the theater.
Okay.
Because it is indeed active and live at this time, whereas it was dark during their.
So it would be reasonable to imagine that the counts are actually worse than what you shared.
I am not aware of the other businesses that are opening in
Okay.
area, so they were not included.
Okay.
Mr. Campbell, if I
Yeah.
could, in
Yeah.
our parking study, the theater was not open in the October counts, but was open during the May counts, which
Got
didn't
it.
differ in terms of, I would say, 30,000-foot view. You
Yeah.
did not see a major impact in the May counts. In fact, the October counts were the peak, which is why they were used for that bar chart
Got
that
it.
we presented. We wanted to present the worst data that we got and show what our impact was. Mr. Giosa is right to point out that during that worst data point,
Yeah.
the theater was 2 days before its opening. But in the May count, which we did on weekdays and weekends as well, the theater was open during that time.
Makes sense.
Council, do you have questions for Mr. Giosa?
Thank you. I'll be brief. Mr. Giosa, it struck me that at one point in your testimony, you, and these are my words, but you indicated a lack of frame of reference for evaluating the parking needs of a swim school. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Right. In fact, you've never evaluated the parking needs one way or the other of a swim school. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So whatever you bring to your evaluation here is drawn from other experience. It's not an experience specific to this kind of use.
No, it was drawn from the applicant's parking expert and their estimation of the parking demand that would be generated by the swim school.
Correct, not your own.
Correct.
In fact, when you described the scope of your review here, you divided it into 3 categories, as I recall, 2 of which were regurgitation of the engineer's report in the municipality, right? And one other? What was that? The engineer's report, and who else?
The planning board.
The planning board,
Yeah,
right.
that was the-
So the only segment of your...
The planner's report.
Planners.
Right, because
Planner's
the
report.
planning board.
Janice's report.
Right,
Correct.
got it. So the only segment of your report that I would say was not an evaluation of the planner or the engineer and relegated to an evaluation of the applicant's expert was the 3rd section of your report. Is that right? The 3rd silo, as you described
Well,
it.
the second silo was the parking stall geometry, you know, about the backing into the crosswalks. That was new. That was new. That was the second silo. The 3rd silo is the parking supply and demand.
Okay. All of which were predicated on the applicant's submission.
The demand generated by the swim school was, we accepted the assumptions of the applicant's parking expert in terms of how much parking demand the swim school would
Correct. And you were engaged to review that after the applicant submitted its parking study, correct?
Yes.
Now, so as I understand it, then your assignment was to review the applicant's work solely, not to conduct an independent parking review as if you were representing the applicant.
Yes, that's typically, it's a, you know, that's typically the role that I would play.
Okay, but that's the-
Review the application. the
Right.
applicant's,
So we're not, when we read your report, it's not as though we're reading something that was prepared to conduct an independent parking study for the SwimQuest applicant's benefit. Is that right?
Correct.
Could you characterize your report as an independent parking demand analysis for the applicant?
No, it's, I would characterize it as a review of documents and materials that have been put on the record in terms of this application, the parking aspects of those materials.
Meaning that you did not rely on any raw data that you assembled yourself. Is that correct?
I did conduct a site visit and found the 11 cars parked on site, and that was new data that I folded into my analysis.
But you didn't do any parking counts, correct?
No, we did not.
Okay, you're familiar with a 20-minute parking count? Do you know what that is? A 20-minute parking count? In intervals of 20 minutes.
Yes, I heard the,
Yeah. Did you do any of those?
no.
Okay. Did you conduct any weekday parking accounts?
No, we didn't do anything.
Saturday, Sunday, any parking
No,
counts?
We were simply reviewing the documents that were submitted.
Okay.
As part of the application.
So you had the one site visit, but no parking counts?
No, we were reviewing parking accounts submitted by
Okay.
by the applicant.
This is somewhat of a generic question. You said you relied on the numbers, and you heard questions from the board on the catchment areas. And the number of 263 spaces was what you relied upon coming out of the applicant's data, correct?
Yes.
Now, when you use fewer parking spaces in a catchment area, isn't it true analytically that it's naturally going to produce a tighter parking analysis?
We just relied on the data provided by the applicant in terms of what they found was the number of cars parked in 20-minute intervals in that 263 space catchment area.
Would you agree with the statement that even in a worst case scenario, that your report concludes that even at its peak, that SwimQuest doesn't exceed the capacity in the compressed area for parking?
Well, it's a
I just
question
asked
for-
you whether
folks,
you
it's a
agree.
question for Mr. Giosa, not for the
Yeah,
public.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to understand. exactly
I'll
what the
withdraw that
was.
question if you don't understand it, Mr. Giosa. Now, your report, Mr. Giosa, I looked through it, and I didn't see anything that tells me otherwise, but your report never concludes that SwimQuest's projected parking demand by itself exceeds the available parking supply, does it?
The I guess that
If it's there, show me.
the demand from from SwimQuest itself, which is the 36.
I'll repeat the question. Will
No,
help you?
I want to make sure that I'm understanding the question.
Sure, sure.
The demand from the parking demand from SwimQuest itself does not exceed what number?
My question, I'll ask it again. Your report never concludes that SwimQuest, the applicant's projected parking demand by itself exceeds the available parking supply, does it?
Well, the available parking supply at the time of the count, which was done at a time when the movie theater was dark.
Okay.
So that,
I don't have any further questions. We reserve on a rebuttal by bringing our expert back.
Of course, I'm imagining we're going to have a lot more questions and discussions once everybody's in the room together. How many people want to ask Mr. Giosa a question? Okay, that's pretty much the entire room. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then let's come back and we'll get to questions from the public for Mr. Giosa at that time. Thanks. Okay, everybody. We are going to get started here. My favorite bell.
I like this better.
Ms. Talley? Oh, that's okay. I know you're trying to hash some
Yes.
scheduling things out.
We're back on the
We're
record.
back on here. I know we're back on with Rick. I think Mr. Giosa just stepped out for a moment, so let me just take a couple minutes here to talk about scheduling. So yes, a few of us were up here talking with the applicant. What we were doing is figuring out scheduling, because we are clearly not getting through this application tonight. So we're trying to figure out when the applicant can come back, when their experts are available, and when our board experts are available. And so what we think the plan is here is for tonight, we will, when Mr. Giosa comes back, we will have questions from the public about Mr. Giosa's testimony, and then the applicant will have its witness from Reach Out Montclair. For some reason, it's just not sticking in my brain. Reach Out Montclair to testify about a memorandum of understanding between the two parties, the applicant and Reach Out Montclair. And then that's going to be it for tonight. And then on August 3rd, and we'll make this announcement again at the end, at August 3rd at 7 o'clock, we'll have the continuation of this hearing where the applicant will bring back its parking expert and its civil engineer. We hope the civil engineer will be here. We don't know that for certain, but bring back their parking expert to have a continued discussion and questions around parking. So the public will then have an opportunity at August 3rd to ask the parking expert, the applicant's parking expert questions, and Mr. Giosa will also be here, who's the board's parking expert. So you'll have a second, I guess, opportunity to ask Mr. Giosa some questions. So I would say, for the public, for tonight's purposes, yes, you'll have the opportunity to ask Mr. Giosa questions, but be mindful that he will be back on August 3rd, as will the applicant's parking expert. So we'll have probably a more wholesome and more robust discussion at that time. So if there are questions that it makes sense to wait until everybody's in the room, I would ask you to do that. But certainly we will have some testimony, we'll have an opportunity tonight to ask Mr. Giosa questions. And then following that, Ms. Talley, what's the next meeting after that we are aiming for?
Well, we're not sure who's available for August 3rd. We have another meeting on August 17th, and we talked about the possibility, if it doesn't work on August 17th, we might have the planning testimony on September 14th.
September,
So we're
okay.
keeping those dates open.
We don't know when Mr. Steck, the applicant's planning expert, will testify. He's not testifying tonight. I think he's seemingly remaining in the audience here to listen to the testimony, or he's heading out. I don't know which. He's heading out. Okay. Either way, he won't be testifying tonight. He will either testify August 3rd or at a subsequent meeting, likely at a subsequent meeting, because I have a feeling August 3rd is going to be mostly dedicated to parking and circulation. Right? Do I? It will be. We'll make the announcement at the end, but that's what we are looking at this point. Well,
I don't know who's available, but we are going to continue this public hearing to August 3rd. We anticipate.
At 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock, and we anticipate that the civil engineer and the traffic expert will be available, but we don't know that for sure because they're not here.
they're not here, and the applicant will have to check with their schedules, but that's what we think will happen. We will hopefully know that by the end of this week, I would imagine.
And just for clarification.
Please come up to the microphone so that we have you on recording.
That's okay. Just for clarification, we're only to ask questions. This isn't a time for public comment? Where is
Tonight.
that folded in? Where's
So
the public comment?
once the applicant presents all of their expert witnesses and they say, hey, we're done, we have no more testimony to provide, at that point, we
So
will
that
take.
could possibly happen tonight?
No, it won't
No.
happen tonight, because
Okay,
they're not
So we're still in
even,
the question phase, and then we're looking at maybe August to
Yes. Or
express
September.
things. So
Yeah.
this is still questions?
this is still questions
Great.
for Mr. Giosa, and then there'll be time for questions for the Reach Out Montclair expert,
Okay, I'm ready
sorry,
whenever
witness.
everybody else.
I'm sure everybody's ready. Sure.
Ms. Talley, I don't know if you misspoke. Did you say a traffic expert? Or did you mean parking?
Well, he's a traffic engineer who testified as their parking expert. There was no traffic study, but
That's
he's
what
a
I thought.
traffic engineer.
Okay, so.
Correct, that was your, yeah.
Yeah, it was the gentleman that was here, or,
Mr. Steckler.
there you go.
Steckler, right.
So hopefully that was relatively clear on where we think this is going to go. Again, other than August 3rd, it's not set in stone. That will be set in stone, but that's what we think right now. So with that, I would invite the public up to ask Mr. Giosa questions. Mr. Giosa, we're going to have to give you a microphone of some sort. Maybe you can borrow the hand.
We can step in and out.
We can, but it sometimes gets difficult. Oh, we've got another wireless. Okay. Well, Mr. Giosa has one. Council, would you like the other wireless?
Unless you want me to karaoke, I don't know if I need it.
Well, we need you on the record somehow. So again, reminder, if you're asking Mr. Giosa questions, just give us your name and address, and then
Sure.
ask questions about his testimony.
Great. So it's Liz Zazzi, Z-A-Z-Z-I, and I live on Amherst Place in Upper Montclair. Mr. Giosa, thank you so much for your testimony. Just a couple of questions. My recollection at the last meeting was that certain residential areas on Cooper were mentioned as being potentially in the count of available parking spaces. So if you could clarify, because I think you referred to two separate counts of like a larger and a smaller count, if you could just clarify that, because that was confusing, because it seemed like their parking expert was finding spaces on residential streets. So I just wanted some clarification on that. Do you want me to get spit out all the questions, or go
Nope.
question by question?
One at a time,
Go.
please.
Okay.
So it's my understanding that the applicant's first parking study had a larger catchment area that included residential streets up to 1,800 feet away, I believe, from the site. And then his testimony from the last planning board meeting had a much smaller catchment area consisting of 263 spaces, which did not include any spaces on the residential streets. That's my interpretation of his testimony from
Okay.
last month.
Okay, and also, I think I need some clarification on the New Jersey Transit lot, but that could probably wait until he comes back, so that, I could wait on that. But the other question that I had, or I have two more. When you did this analysis of the information that was provided to you, you mentioned the two dates. One was in October and the other one was in May. And you were good enough to mention that the theater had not been open during the October study. My recollection from the last meeting is that the October study was done on a Jewish holiday, so that would potentially impact the use of many of those parking spaces or non-use. And similarly, the May study was done on an early school dismissal day. So again, you're looking at a study that was done on 2 days where parking would have not been ordinary.
Was that a question?
Yeah.
What's the question?
Were you looking at, in other words, were you looking at
Are you
those 2 days?
aware of those two
Yeah,
pieces of information?
that those 2 days that the studies were conducted were not typical in the sense of,
Well, but just that to the points you made.
Thank
Were you
you.
aware of those 2 points, a Jewish holiday and an early dismissal?
I heard discussion about the Jewish holiday at the last meeting. I heard, when I reviewed the tape, I heard discussion about the Jewish holiday, but I think there was also subsequent testimony that it was not a major holiday.
no, it
I
wasn't a
didn't-
major one, but it was a Jewish holiday. But then the May study was done on an early school dismissal day. Were you aware of that?
Okay. No, I was not.
Okay.
But I didn't rely on the May data because it wasn't the peak count. The applicant put forward their peak count, which is typical of what traffic engineers do in their traffic studies. If you want to solve for the peak condition, if you could solve for the peak condition, you can solve for pretty much all conditions. So-
Right, I just wanted to be clear
So that October count, October 8th, I believe, 2025, was the peak condition.
Okay, on the Jewish holiday. Okay, and then the last question I had was, you made a reference to, I think it was the geometry of the parking spaces, and you referred to compact, like some of them should have been designated for compact cars?
Yeah, I'm going to defer to the board's engineer on that one, because I believe you had discussions with the applicant?
Yeah, there was discussion in prior hearings regarding there was the one parking stall closest to the driveway, which is undersized. And there was some back and forth with the applicant's engineer indicating that future revisions will be made to better establish that space as a compact space and potentially look to work out the geometry a little better to be more accessible.
Okay, so Mr.
But those revisions have not been made.
Okay,
to
Mr.
date.
Hernandez, how many parents do you know who drive compact cars that are bringing kids to swim school? Just curious. Never mind.
That's not
Okay,
appropriate.
no, it's fine. It was a joke. Thanks.
I really actually do just have a few questions, I promise.
Can you give us your name?
Oh, sorry. Jan Hoffman, and I come to you actually as an expert in my own right, because I've lived at the intersection of Cooper and Northview for more than 30 years, so I really know about parking availability.
And you're a resident of the township?
Oh, big time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Look at my tax records.
I just have to understand people's nexus for, asking questions. Thank you.
I understand. Right, Cooper and Northview. I sent my girls to swim school at the Y in Montclair, and I have called the police department and the ambulance unit many times for accidents at my intersection as people attempt to come up Northview to avoid the growing traffic
So
on Valley.
this is for questions about Mr. Giosa's
Yes,
testimony.
Yes. So my question, a couple of quick questions. When you talked about the parking availability and you noted the opening of the Bellevue Theater, so that means you didn't include the other recent businesses in your addition. So not Clementina, not the dog grooming place, not Jackie's Expansion, et cetera, which are already much more developed than a swim school. So it's not included?
Correct.
Okay. And then finally, my question is, because you're the expert, and I just know that I am never able to park on my street, nor can people who visit me find parking spaces on Cooper or Northview, and that's changed in the last 5 years. In your opinion, two questions. If someone has the opportunity to park for free or pay for parking, and the free parking is closer to where you want to be than the parking spot that you have to pay for, which do people choose?
I'm going to read a paragraph from my report. It says, a review of readily available online images indicates that portions of Cooper and Northview already experience some spillover parking activity from the nearby business district. This can occur when more convenient parking spaces in the business district are full, or when cost-conscious parkers seek to park without paying a meter.
Okay, and then the final question I have is the swim school has said that its lessons are a half hour long, and that we are talking about a turnover every half hour. But in reality, if you've got a 4-year-old and it's a wet, rainy day and you're looking for parking and you're circling to find a parking space, but you got to get your kid there to change the kid into a swimsuit, then afterwards get the kid out, dry the kid off, get the kid back into a snowsuit. How long are people actually using those spaces for, and what does the pileup look like?
I'm not qualified to answer that question, but to me, the applicant's expert in the last meeting gave a very plausible explanation for the 18 and the 18.
Yes, but that's 18 when they're there, but I'm just talking about the overlap. So in other words, are we talking about more
Yeah,
than
that
18
was the
at a
overlap,
time?
18 in the pool and 18 that have just gotten out.
So that's 36 spaces ostensibly plus
36,
employees.
that's the number that they were using. yeah.
Okay, thanks very much.
Hi, my name's Jennifer May. I live on Stevens Street in Montclair. This is a good follow-up question for her because my question is to point out if you, upon hearing what I have to say, think that that data is right. So there's the people arriving, that's 18. There's the people in the pool, that's 18. And then there's the people leaving, that's 18. This is all happening at the same time. So that's 54 places, not 36. So by my count, would you agree that if you have a 4:30 class, at 5:15, the 4:30 class is about to leave because they get out of the pool at 4:30, and it takes them about 15 minutes to do the things that woman suggested, getting dried off and all of this. Then, at that same exact time, the 5:30 class is arriving, right? The 5:30 class is arriving at 5:15, about 15 minutes before they need to get in the pool because they have to get undressed. And then you still have people in the water for their 5 to 5:30 class. So my question is, doesn't that make logical sense that we are working from a number of 36 as proposed from the swim school when in fact any logical person would understand that it's 54 parking spaces, not 36. And so I'm suggesting that the data that they gave you.
Well, you're asking him a question.
Yeah, so the question is, knowing that, do you think that that data that they gave you might not be accurate?
I thought the applicant's description of the 36 car demand was plausible.
So what about the people who are in the pool at that moment? They're already in the pool. They're already parked.
So I can't paraphrase exactly what the applicant said, but what the applicant said in terms of describing who those 36 cars would be made sense from a parking perspective. And that's, I only reviewed it in terms of parking. And again, there are no readily available reference books that can tell us what exact parking demand is generated by a swim school. So we have to rely on the testimony of people who are experts in this field, and I think we heard that. And to me, there was no reason to disagree with their explanation of the 36. That you have the 5 o'clock class, and you have, I'm coming to the 5 o'clock class, and the 4:30 class is leaving, and that's the overlap.
But there's people in the water. I don't understand
Well,
it.
I mean, I hear your position. He has a different position, and
Okay.
that's it.
Dan Nachman, also at 193 Cooper, also been there for 35 years. I think I heard at the last meeting or earlier testimony from the applicant that one of the advantages of this school will be that it will help increase business in the area because parents will have their kids at the school and then maybe want to go take their kid out for lunch or take them to a movie. So 18 and 18, but then some of the people from the 4:30 class may not leave at 5 and may stick around to do something else in the area. They're already parked. So there will be some holdover of some of those classes. So it's going to be, is it possible to be more than 36? Because some of the earlier classes, those parents won't have left yet.
And it's possible that there could be a sickness going through the school, and there's a lot of absentees. There are so many different scenarios we can paint here, We're just trying to come up with a number that we think is plausible. And for me, the description that the applicant gave in terms of parking demand generated by the school, the 36, was plausible.
It doesn't account for those parents and students who may not leave immediately.
Is that a question?
Yeah, all right. So, another question. Count was done in May and another, or in October and another one in May. Is it possible that those don't capture the peak of what the neighborhood experiences with the spillover into the residential areas? Is it possible that those 2 dates don't capture what may even be the normal demand, let alone the peak demand?
Yes, but in reality, you can't count every day at 20-minute intervals, so you try to choose a typical day and find the peak hour.
I can tell you that
Well,
there's
again,
often no parking
questions.
available.
It's questions from Mr. Giosa at this point.
That's one other question. With cars coming in to either drop off students or look for parking, 18 every 30 minutes or 36 every 30 minutes, is there a reason why a traffic study isn't required to see what the impact will be on an already incredibly busy intersection with cars piling up as they try to get into this little narrow entryway?
Yeah, so again, the only reference to traffic in my report had to do with parkers who can't find a parking spot circling the streets and adding traffic volume to the existing traffic network. And so that could be a byproduct of the parking supply being full or perceived to be full.
And so why wasn't the applicant required to do a traffic study to evaluate that impact?
That's, Mr. Giosa didn't testify to that, and that was actually covered at some of the earlier hearings, that off-site traffic, and I believe Mr. Trembulac referenced the Dunkin' Donuts case, legal case, that off-site traffic impacts for and I'll paraphrase it, off-site traffic impacts for a permitted use cannot be considered as part of this type of hearing in an application. It's the law, and Mr. Neese can correct me if I misstated anything.
You did not. That's
Okay,
correct.
thank you. I got the first part of the case name. I don't remember who it was against, but it's Dunkin' Donuts something or other. South Brunswick? Okay. I can look it up.
Justin Jesser, 120 Chestnut Street.
I didn't hear your name again?
Sorry, Justin Jesser, 120 Chestnut Street.
Can you spell your last name for me?
Of course. Jesser. So,
Okay, thank you.
first of all, thank you. I guess the question that I have is, you brought up there's not necessarily a book that you can use for swim schools. However, what I would ask, is there any kind of known cases or known kind of reference points for the age that this school is going to be serving that could be a reference that you're aware of?
This swim school, I believe, has another location in Whippany.
Okay.
Is it Whippany? And I think it has its own dedicated parking lot. So if the two facilities are comparable, it could be possible to count the number of cars parked in the lot in Whippany that are accountable to SwimQuest. And I believe it's an exclusive lot just for the school. That might give us a clue to what the actual demand
I guess the
that
question
could be generated might be.
Yeah, I guess the question more along the lines of generally accepted kind of counts, figures, numbers, those type of things for potentially a daycare, potentially childcare, things that look at small children that typically you don't ask them to walk 1,000 meters or 1,000 feet, whatever it may be, that I feel like are not necessarily taken into consideration for this parking study that was presented, not by you, but by the applicant. Is there anything that's out there that you would reference?
I would say, is there an analog for educational play centers?
Thank you.
I think is maybe what this gentleman is trying to ask.
I am, very, very poorly.
It's late. I'm stumbling over my words too, so don't sweat it.
Yeah, not that I'm aware of. I don't know of. I mean, I guess there's daycare, but the uses are not really the same. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't be comfortable using that data.
Okay. And then the last question I have for you, which I appreciate your time, is when looking at the studies and saying that their regular days are kind of what normal behavior is. We have 2 studies that are not on normal days. At what point would you go back to the board and say, I think there needs to be more information to reconsider what's being presented as a normal case? That the applicant didn't complete appropriately. I guess that would be the question to you, is like, when would you flag that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if the board believes that the dates selected are not indicative of typical conditions, then they might ask the applicant to conduct additional counts.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions from the public for Mr. Giosa about his testimony? Yes.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Mark DiBenedetto. I live on Sunset Park, Montclair, do business in Upper Montclair. First of all, let me thank you very much for your presentation of the information and for the report. So am I able to ask questions from the report, which was posted online?
It's his report, so I think that's fair.
Great. So you broke it down into, toward the end, into A, B, and C. So my question has to do with the weighted value of the conclusions in A, B, and C. So on page 4, where, which I've ripped out, is A, you talk about, the title is called Inadequate On-Site Parking. And I want you to ask you how you evaluate that compared to B, which is the impact on residential neighborhoods, and C, the impact on local traffic volumes. So as a gentleman or an expert in parking, to determine that these three topics are of concern after you reviewed the information that was supplied to you, I wanted to just sort of summarize by saying, with my question, your conclusion is that based upon this review, that the applicant should address the forecasted parking deficits and other concerns expressed in it. So of the A, B, and the C, which of those do you think is the most egregious to the conduct and safety of civilian life, as we'd like to believe could continue in Upper Montclair?
I guess the best way for me to answer that is that A leads into B, which leads into C. It's kind of a cause and effect. So we have inadequate on-site parking.
I'm sorry, you're saying there's inadequate on-site parking as an expert witness is stating that?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
It's right there in the report. And then B says,
I have one thing highlighted. It's estimated that the local area.
Well, let Mr. Giosa respond to your question first.
Thank you.
because there's inadequate on-site parking, there will be an impact on residential neighborhoods. There'll be spillover. So A leads into B, and also because there's inadequate on-site parking, we could get C, which is cars who can't find a parking spot unnecessarily circulating on the local traffic network.
Thank you.
So they're all related.
There is this phrase that I'm not as familiar with, so I did want to ask you to clarify. This will add unnecessary junk traffic to parking lots and the local street network as motorists circle the streets and lots in search of available parking. Is this something that you've experienced before or advised other councils or planning boards or developers about this possibility and probability of what you call junk traffic?
Yeah, the junk traffic is just it's a casual phrase that's used to describe traffic that's really just unproductive. It's not it's unnecessary. It's generated by use, and because there's no available parking, this creates this junk traffic on the traffic network that is unproductive.
There was one other question I had which was in
And-
Part
and,
A.
I'm sorry, let me
No,
just-
please
and I don't
finish.
know if you've ever gone in the Upper Montclair parking lot back there, but there's a lot of circling back there already. So.
Interesting observation. I would ask you if you watched the testimony from 2 meetings ago, you wouldn't have needed to.
I did not, no.
But I would ask if you had, or you may watch it in the future, I asked the developer, this is a question to saying if he's familiar with this concept of circling. I asked the developer if he was familiar with the term bottleneck, because in what you just stated, in Upper Montclair Parking Plaza, there is a regular amount of circling that goes on, and I asked the developer if he had ever tried to exit that parking plaza onto Bellevue Avenue, and if you'd ever tried to do that when the light at Bellevue and Valley is red, or if you've ever tried to do that when the train is there. So bottleneck, it almost becomes, a solid formation.
And
of
this is leading to a
automobiles.
question for Mr. Giosa.
Would you describe that circulation pattern that you've already seen in a constricted area as having potential to be exacerbated by the addition of this particular approval by this planning board of this business in that location?
Yes, it's in the report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Other questions for Mr. Giosa? Okay, I don't see any. So at this point, we're not going to do any, oh no, you do have another witness, yes. Please call your next witness. Thank you, Mr. Giosa.
I'd like to call Garth Guthrie. Garth, you can sit right here if you'd like. Mr. Guthrie's going to be testifying with respect to a document that's in the record. I think it's A28. We have extra copies here if anybody needs one. Does anybody need one? Everybody set? Okay, great. Okay, Mr. Guthrie, thank you for joining us this evening. I have a few
Mr.
brief
Genova,
questions.
before you begin, sorry to interrupt.
Sure, you're going to swear him.
We're going to swear you in. Is that okay? Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Affirmative.
Would you please state your full name and business affiliation for the record?
Garth Anthony Guthrie, Sr., and co-founder of Reach Out Montclair.
Everybody hear Mr. Guthrie okay?
As long as he's close to the mic, I think it'll be fine.
Can you
Thank
hear
you.
me?
Yeah.
Good. So why don't we start with a little bit of background, Mr. Guthrie. Are you employed currently?
I'm retired.
Retired. And retired from what
Montclair
position?
Police Department. And also a paramedic at St. Joseph Hospital.
St. Joseph's Hospital in
Yes,
Patterson?
Patterson.
And are you resident of Montclair?
37 years.
Now, are you familiar with an organization called Reach Out Montclair?
Yes.
And do you hold any position in that organization?
Co-founder, director for the Reach Out programs we have.
And how long has Reach Out Montclair existed?
15 years.
And is this a nonprofit organization?
Nonprofit organization.
Can you describe for the board the mission of the organization?
The mission of the organization is to help the underserved in Montclair, to provide them with things that they wouldn't normally or can get because they can afford it, basically.
Could you tell us a little bit about the activities of Reach Out Montclair?
Yes, we do outreach service. We give resources to individuals who need resources. We also help the families, children, seniors, and even the unhoused in towns with clothing, food, just about anything you could think of that's not provided otherwise.
How long have you, did you say the organization exists?
15 years.
And how long have you been active in the organization?
I've co-founded the organization.
Now, how is it that Reach Out Montclair became involved, if at all, with SwimQuest, the applicant here?
How I became involved when I heard about what the program is going to be offering, and I deal with the underserved in Montclair, which is quite a few. and realized they're offering a facility, 100 student free swimming lessons and instruction and instructors. And that's why I think it's aligned with what we're all about.
Now, there's a document in the record that each of the planning board members have, which I'm showing you a copy of right here. Did you enter into a memorandum of understanding with the applicant, SwimQuest LLC?
That's correct.
And could you tell us what that agreement provides for?
The agreement provides that we find eligible families who would like to participate in the swimming activities, and SwimQuest would provide the instructors and the facility and the free program for the 100.
And how many children would that be?
100.
And what do you anticipate would be those who would qualify for the free swimming lessons?
The underserved family, which is in Montclair, and individuals who cannot afford to go to swimming.
And are there any eligibility requirements? How are they identified, or what do you anticipate how they're going to be identified?
How they identify, I've been doing this for 15 years, also been a police over 20-something years in town, so I'm fully aware who is, where they reside and what's going on, because I've actually, on a daily basis, I'm in the community, serving the community. So I can identify them through our outreach program and through people referring us to people in the community.
Now, why would you view swimming lessons as significant or important to an underserved community here in Montclair?
It's safety, and it's for the underserved. They can't afford it, and it's definitely a safety issue. And if you look at the record, how many children died of drowning each year, that will answer your questions.
Now, to the extent you've entered into this agreement with the SwimQuest folks, what do you understand is expected to be how the kids will participate? Will they be part of all the other children that participate that are paying? Are they going to be separated out? What do you understand is the understanding?
It will definitely be a part of the children that are participating. No separation.
And why is that important in your view?
Very important, because you don't want to separate kids or anybody to make them feel less of a person.
In the 15 years that you've been operating Reach Out Montclair, has a program like this ever existed in town here for underserved children?
Not just programs.
And do you, I mean, is it fair to say that this program, at least as it relates to Reach Out Montclair, wouldn't exist but for SwimQuest?
Absolutely.
Have you gotten any feedback from participants in Reach Out Montclair about the idea of offering 100 children the opportunity for free swimming lessons?
I have many families talking about they're ready to do it, ready to join, have their kids, because unfortunately in Montclair we only consider people who have stuff. We don't remember people. There's over 8,000 people families in Montclair are underserved. We forget about that all the time. We're always thinking about other things, but there's over 8,000 families in Montclair underserved, and that's what I want you guys to realize.
I'm using the term swimming lessons. You use the term safety. What do you understand is the objective of the program in the agreement that you reached with SwimQuest? Is it just about learning to swim, or is it about water safety, or a combination?
It's a combination. It's about water safety. It's a discipline thing. And as a paramedic, I know that we always encourage people with breathing difficulties to take swimming lessons because it helps you to breathe better.
Now, I guess you've kind of alluded to this, but I'll ask you directly. Is the feedback you're getting from the members of Reach Out Montclair, do they view this as a meaningful community benefit?
Absolutely, it's a meaningful benefit.
And how is it that you came to conclude that?
When you're giving someone something that they cannot afford for free, and something as a safety issues and a safety measure, it's definitely, how can you resist?
Now, this is going to be like a little curveball question in the sense, but would you characterize what is being agreed to here as a marketing ploy or a genuine charitable undertaking?
It's definitely a charitable undertaking because it has a component service to it. There's no marketing, in my view.
Now, do you expect that this relationship is going to continue beyond the opening of the facility should this board granted approval to allow its construction.
Of course, because if you're going to do that, I'm sure there's other future plans with other organizations and other things we can plan ahead.
And is the objective to build upon this program for the future?
Absolutely.
Is there anything that you'd like to say to the board about your sensibilities about this program, whether you're enthusiastic about it or not, should it come to fruition?
Yeah, definitely I'm enthusiastic about it because it's something that we always could use in Montclair. I've been doing this 15 years, and this is one thing I ask children a lot of times when I'm working as a patrol officer, what is some of the problems in the Montclair? Why you not able to, why they get in trouble? And they said they don't have nothing else to do. That's the exact word over and over again. And I want you guys to realize that. And if you can offer multiple programs in this will help to reduce kids from getting into trouble, drug addiction, and so forth. It is a chain reaction. So as a person who have experienced this and asked these questions over and been in the trenches with these people in the community, I can tell you from my view what I'm seeing and what I hear.
I have no further questions of Mr. Guthrie.
Question from the board. Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening. First question is, are you aware that the Planning Board has an application before us, and that application is to consider the parking variance, and we are to pay attention to the parking things? That's what we're being asked. So can you tell me, please, why you're here? Is there a relationship between the underserved children and the parking that I'm just trying to figure out why you're here. Or is it just like to say he's a good guy or what, help me to understand
I'm here.
That.
I'm here for the underserved. I'm representing the underserved. I'm not here for parking.
No, we are. We're
Yeah,
being
you're
asked
there
to
for
do
parking,
that.
But I'm not here. I'm for the underserved population in this community. That's what I'm
Okay.
here representing, for the underserved.
Okay, let me try to ask this a little differently. So, as you know from our extensive years of working together for underserved, I'm also for the underserved. In this capacity, before this planning board, right, we've been asked to consider some things to help us make a decision about a parking variance. And so if you can help me understand in your words why you think they brought you here, and we're being asked to consider what we need to weigh in on for the parking variance. When I vote, I have to try to figure out the parking variance. So in your words, please, if you could tell me why you were asked to come here tonight. Now, I'd like to know in your words, Mr. Guthrie, please.
Sure, you should answer. And then I'd like an opportunity to give you a legal basis as well.
I'm here because I have an MOU, and you want to know why I'm participating in this situation, and that's what I'm here to represent and explain to you why I'm here for that. The parking issue is what you guys deal with. I don't know anything about parking. So
Okay.
you're the expert, I'm not. But I know what it means to not have.
Thank you.
If
My
I-
second
if I may-
question is,
if I-
I understand the legal point. I just wanted to know if Mr. Guthrie understood
Okay,
what our
fine.
charge is.
Sure.
So my second question, Mr. Guthrie, is if this planning board moves forward and grants the application, is it your understanding that you and Reach Out Montclair will be providing free services also to the underserved, as the applicant is providing free services? From as far as I can see, is it your understanding that the Reach Out Montclair is also doing volunteer work for the underserved too and will not receive compensation?
Absolutely. I mean, if you look at my history, and if you guys take a chance, reach out Montclair on Facebook and see what we have done over the 15 years of volunteering. Free service, never cost anything. We've done free service. For the homeless, I just get off point for a little bit because I'm very passionate about what I do. For the on-house, we provided a cot, 32 cots for the on-house in town. We didn't ask for a dime. We provided that for free. So if you look at our site, you will see what we have done. My site explains itself.
Okay. And my third question, and then I'll give some other opportunities. The third question, please, is that you said that there are 8,000 families that are underserved in Montclair, and I'm asking, please, that you provide that number. You said there are over 8,000 families that are underserved here in Montclair Township, so it would be helpful, please, if you provide that data for us. And do you know how many of those underserved families have children between the ages of 6 months to 16 years?
I know a significant amount have children in those age categories.
Okay. When you get a chance, please, can you just provide us with that data, please? Thank you.
Ms. Walls.
Thank you. It was nice to hear about your organization. I just wanted to, I noticed that you're committing to provide transportation to the children as necessary. Is that something, a service you currently offer?
I never said that.
Oh, it's in the MOU. It says responsibilities of Reach Out Montclair, coordinate transportation for participating children as necessary. I'm asking from Reach Out Montclair.
Yeah,
Is that I'm just asking him. Can I just ask him?
Yeah, I just wanted to be sure that you're quoting the language. It says coordinate communications.
No, right here. Coordinate transportation. This is 4D.
For participating children. Right.
As necessary. Yes, it doesn't say communications.
Right.
I just want to ask, do you currently provide transportation for any of the people you serve?
Coordinate.
No, it says coordinate transportation. Right.
Provide. Coordinate.
Okay, so what is your view of coordinating?
Coordinate is organizing somebody to find the transportation service, and I coordinate to get
Do you
them there.
currently provide,
No.
it seems like a really hard job.
Yeah.
Do you currently coordinate transportation for any of the other people that you serve?
Yes.
That's all my question is?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Gaines.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to commend you and your organization for the work that you have done in the township of Montclair. Currently, there is a need for swim classes for Black and brown communities. And it is a safety issue. Losing someone to drowning is a travesty, and I don't wish that on anyone. And I think if your organization can partner with anyone that could ensure that every child has an opportunity to learn how to swim is critical. As the mayor did state, that we are looking at a parking variance. And this relationship that you are trying to establish with Swim Quest is a concern in terms of the capacity of parking. My only request is that if this relationship moves forward, that there is the ability to transport these children to the facility so they can learn how to swim.
I promise you I will. I will do it.
Thank you.
I will do it. Because anything I put myself to, I will get it done. Because if that's a part of it, I'll get it done. Because we had, so far, 15 years, we have get things done in town here without much help from in town. More than the mayor have been helping us a lot.
Thank you.
May I be heard for a moment?
Sure.
Just so that the record is clear, one of the elements, as I'm sure you know, for determining any issuance of a variance is whether or not there are elements of a public benefit. So Mr. Guthrie's testimony is designed to support the argument that we'll advance when we close, that there's a public benefit to be served by the grant of the variance in this circumstance. So that I just want that to be clear.
I assume that's something Mr. Steckel testified to?
Yes.
Okay. Other question, Mr. Neese?
Yeah, Mr. Guthrie, Mr. Genova asked you a question about building upon this relationship, what did you understand that question to me? How do you see the relationship being built upon?
There's different ways we could build upon. Having started with 100 students, we could continue that, and those kids could become instructors. We could do so many different things. Right now, off the back of my head, I can't think what's specific, but I'm sure there's a lot to be done. It's just like Brother to Brother, our other organization. I have my son in, he was a mentee, now he become a mentor. So it's a continuation of them participating and giving back. That's the whole purpose behind it.
And if that were to happen, and it sounds like a wonderful plan, it sounds to me like there will be more of the people who you're helping that will come to the facility. I guess Ms. Wallace asked you about the term coordinate.
Right.
If this takes off, and how do you vision your role in the coordination of this? Will you work with parents and have them drive their children to the facility? Will you create a van service? I'm just trying to wrap my head around what it is that you envision for this process.
I'm envisioning, I could drive a vehicle, they could drive a vehicle. Giving a good example, I'm going to go off base. We give the homeless a bath twice a month. We rent a vehicle in Verona, or we're going to Wayne next week to rent a vehicle. I'm the one who drive and look for all the house in town, onto the bridge near the Mountainside Hospital. I'm the one who go on near that bridge. And just listen to what I have to say. So if I'm trying to do anything, I will do it. I will get it done. There's no question about it. There's no question about what I'm about to do.
I frankly have no question whatsoever about that.
Okay.
My concern, though, is that as one person, if this agreement, the MOU, contemplates 100 children coming to the facility, I don't think it's no disrespect at all, but I just don't think it's physically possible for you to bring 100 children to the facility.
Mr. Deese, the agreement talks about a commitment of 100 children annually. It doesn't say 100 at once. It says 100 children will be provided these lessons annually, which could be 8 a month, if you do the math. I'm just saying that that's what the nature of the arrangement is, and that's not to deviate from what Mr. Guthrie testified
I
to.
understand.
I'm just pointing that out to you.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mayor.
Mr. Guthrie, if this planning board decides that they are not going to vote in favor of this particular location for the swim quest, are you aware that there are other swim quests located fairly near to this location?
I'm not aware.
Okay, well, they have quite a few more. I don't remember whether it's 2 or 3 in the near area. And my question would be, so if this planning board doesn't think that that particular location is a good one, will you pursue relationships with the other swim quests in the area, especially, and I am very much aware of Reach Out Montclair, you know that.
Yes.
I'm asking you the questions because this is the venue that we're here in, and none of this has anything to do with your character or what Reach Out Montclair does. And you know, I know probably better than anybody other than your wife. But my question is, will you pursue the other swim quests and encourage them to have, especially since you are excellent at coordinating van services, you guys provide van services for the unhoused so they can go take showers, among the other things. So will you provide van services or speak to the other owners, they're independently owned, swim quest, and say this is something that's going to help save lives of these underserved children, and we would like to partner with you for free and provide van service for our Montclair families, of which you said there are more than 8,000 underserved families. and take them to the other SwimQuest locations? I mean, what will your next step be if this doesn't move
Mayor,
forward?
if I can just intervene,
Yes.
you weren't here, Mr. Guthrie, but the applicant has facilities in Milburn, Livingston, and Whippany. Just wanted to clarify
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, I couldn't remember all of them. Thanks.
It's hard to say what I will do in the future, but I'm going to get something done. I came to this country from Jamaica. I'll give you a little brief. I want to get off point. I came from Jamaica at 15 by myself, 250 in my pocket, by myself, and I was able to make it. I will make it happen, with you or without you, for sure.
Thank you. And final question for me is, what is your relationship with Mr. David Genova now?
He's been a participant in my serving the community for the past several years. He's been donating toys for Christmas for the kids at Christmas time, backpacks, etc. If you guys look at my site, reach out Montclair, and you'll see what I've done.
No, not you. I'm happy to hear that Mr. Genova has been providing things for your Reach Out Montclair for a long time.
Yes.
In addition to that, he's provided you some space from time to time in his location.
Right.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I could
Mr. Hernandez.
just a couple questions just to clarify, and this may be some of it for you, Mr. Guthrie, or council to clarify as well. But the agreement, I believe, states it's for a maximum of 100 children annually. Now, is that 100 lessons annually, or lessons for 100 children annually? Because council indicated it could be 8 per month, but that wouldn't necessarily equate to
Yeah,
100. If it's a one-off, are these, because the second
No,
part question is, are these one-off
So the answer to
lessons, or is this,
the answer to
multiple sessions over the course of 6
the
months?
answer to the question is in paragraph 2, program overview. If you look at the document.
Can you read it, please?
Pardon me?
Can you read it?
Yeah,
please?
sure. It says SwimQuest shall provide free swim lessons to each participating child identified by Reach Out Montclair for as long as necessary for the child to demonstrate foundational swim competency and age-appropriate water safety skills as determined by SwimQuest instructional staff. There shall be no maximum number of lessons provided to any participating child, provided that the child continues participating in good faith and remains actively engaged in the program. So the program is designed to achieve a certain goal, safety goal, as defined as a foundational swim competency, and whatever number of lessons it takes to get to that. Okay. It's kind of like earning a badge in a program, or any child-based program, Scouts or whatever you want to choose. So that's what the commitment is, and the commitment is to do that for 100 children annually.
Okay. So then the number could, practically speaking, if it is 100 children that do enroll into the program, would be significantly more than just 8 per month.
Well, I'm just saying that if it was divided up, I don't know enough about the program, I'm not a witness. I'm just telling you that.
It was your words, that's why.
Yeah, right. And all I'm saying is you could take 8 children a month on the assumption that 8 children can meet the standard within a month. I don't know the answer to that question. I can tell you that the commitment is 100 children annually, and there's a commitment to reach a certain level as defined by the agreement.
Thank you.
Question. I actually have 2. I'll give them both. Hey, I want to commend you for the work that you're doing. It's a beautiful thing. I'm not sure exactly who this is for, but I'm curious. Can everyone hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm curious, who has final right of refusal of acceptance of the children? And I'll give you and I'm not sure if I saw that in the MOU. And the second question is, are the termination terms, are they somewhere else, like the expansion of them, are they somewhere else? It's sort of like a cursory description of what I'm used to around a termination. Like, there's nothing in here about like terms for convenience or other reasons that might pop up later. So I'm just trying to build confidence around the structure of the relationship here.
There's a paragraph 9 I'm reading from the agreement says that it allows for first of all, the agreement is conditioned on Well,
Of
the
course.
term and termination in paragraph 9
Yeah.
allows for a 2-year term, and it also allows for an automatic renewal, and
Yeah.
that's paragraph 9. So
Yes.
if it's not terminated by either party, of either party's intentions, Reach Out Montclair may not like the program, and vice versa. So it's bilateral in that regard. Is
So
that
terms for-
responsive to your question?
So terms for convenience could come into play.
Well, if you're asking whether there's a termination for convenience, my understanding of a termination of convenience allows for a termination by either party
Yeah.
many times without notice. This is a bilateral understanding that it either renews automatically if neither party rejects, but the parties could end it.
Yeah.
One or the other can end it on notice to the other party.
All right, I'm clear. And then the final refusal of
Okay.
incoming students, who has final say?
Let's see.
Final say in whether
Meaning
a child
is
meets the
accepted.
criterion?
No, to be accepted
Yeah,
into the, it just says 100, but it doesn't say who.
I'm looking for the provision. I know that they have details yet to work out because this is subject to the ultimate approval, but that, I'm trying to find the provision which talks about participation and successful, let's say, yeah. Where's that provision?
May I answer your question?
Yeah.
Free and reduced lunch.
The intent, and if it wasn't clearly memorialized in this document, I'm happy to revise it. The intent was that Reach Out Montclair would have discretion over, that they would provide students and that we would service those students. So we don't have there's no threshold after Reach Out Montclair identifies students for us to reject the students. That was intentional.
So it's a
They
sole
would
dis-
have the authority to identify, and we would build a protocol. I mean, if this
Sure.
were approved today, we likely have 12 to 18 months until someone steps in a pool.
Sure,
We
sure.
would build a protocol with Reach Out Montclair that made sure that the people who we envision being seen to this would be serviced by this, and that they would identify them without our interaction
Okay.
to prevent that, to stop a child from coming in. They are integrated into our normal programming. So our instructors would have no idea who is a paid and who isn't a paid student. But there's a second part to that, which is who would graduate them, and that
Yeah.
would be SwimQuest's obligation. The certified lifeguards or the staff there would determine when they meet water readiness and water safety.
Yeah.
And so that would be our graduation. If they don't, if they simply keep coming, we'll service them as long as they come.
Thanks for
But,
clarifying.
But on the incoming side,
Yeah.
that's Reach Out Montclair. On the outgoing side, that's SwimQuest.
So sole discretion on
And that-
incoming
That
is.
appears in the
Correct.
first
Thanks.
line of the second paragraph under program overview. It says, SwimQuest shall provide free swim lessons to each participating child identified by Reach Out Montclair.
It can be inferred, it just wasn't as clear, but I appreciate the
Yeah, I
clarification.
just wanted to put it on the record. I also want to
Yeah.
put one thing on the record, Mayor, just to answer a point. I've never provided Reach Out Montclair with space. You had made a comment about space. I have been a donor to Reach Out Montclair, but I've never provided them with leasable real estate or space.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that location next to the post office was your location.
I do own that location, but I've never
Okay.
rented that to Reach Out Montclair.
I don't know whether you rented it or not, I know that we've used that, but okay, thank you.
Sure.
Other questions from the board?
Yeah, can I ask him a question before he sits down, Mr. Genova? So since this has some things in here regarding transportation for the underserved children, I don't recall there being any provisions for like a parking van or whatever if the van is used. So is that additional space that we need, or is there already included in there some space? So like if you have maybe go pick up some children, say you have 3 or 4, and the parents are coming with them and you need to pull over or park somewhere, have we already provided that somewhere? I just don't remember it.
I'll tell you what our intent was on transportation, and again, I use the word intent because this document is a living document and can be modified if we need it to be, with mutual cooperation from our partners at Reach Out Montclair. We don't have a transportation infrastructure proposed for our location that would permit picking up or dropping off children for any purpose, and not just this purpose, but for any purpose. If you look at the MOU, there are proposed partner organizations that have been identified in our conversations internally, Succeed Together and Brother to Brother and some other partnership organizations. Some of those partnership organizations, my understanding is, do have a history and a background in transporting people for their needed service. It may not be identical to this. It has to be flushed out. But the idea of coordinating transportation was something that was meant to acknowledge that we understand that not everybody who participates in this program, in this particular program for the underserved, will have access to transportation to get there, and a willingness from Reach Out Montclair to assist in solving for that problem. The solution to that problem is not something that we've gotten to a resolution on at this point, but I brought it up in one of my first conversations with Maddie and Garth and said, how does it work in other like organizations or like programs? And they said, there's a solution here, and we'll arrive at it depending on who opts in to provide students. The intent of those kind of other partner organizations is that they also serve and represent various segments of Montclair and various constituencies, and that they would partner with Reach Out Montclair so that their constituencies aren't left out of this scholarship program. And when partnering with those other organizations, there may be multiple different transportation solutions that we could provide as a group to get those kids there, but we don't have an answer on exactly how that's going to happen because we don't know who we're servicing yet.
Thank you. I since the job of this board is to address the parking, my question is very specific to the parking needs, because I get it, and I'm very familiar with each and every one of those nonprofits, and I've worked very closely with all of them since about 2005 or longer for some, 2008 for others. My questions keep coming back to, the parking, and we're going to get the data that I need to confirm, the number of children that are actually in Montclair that may participate. Now I'm trying to find out if the mode of transportation is by a van. We need to think about that if you're asking us to think about that now. And I'm saying that because I know one of the modes of transportation that's used by Reach Out Montclair is a very lovely van. So the van pulls up, and I'm trying to visualize where that van pulls, or do they double park on very busy Valley Road? Just trying to figure out what that plan looks like, please.
To clarify, this is not.
And even if it was somebody with a disability that needed a van, then if you want to go there, then how would the disability van come in?
So there is an ADA parking spot provided on the plan. That ADA parking spot could also service a van to allow kids out. But I just want to make sure I'm understanding your question and answering it properly. This is not in addition to what we've testified to in terms of class sizes, in terms of what we've testified to in terms of turnover of classes and rollover. There will be capacity. If you remember our operator speaking, there are some morning classes that are not anticipated to be peak capacity. There are some weekend classes that are not anticipated to be peak capacity. So this is part of our constituency and part of our overall group that we plan to service. It's not additive to that. So we're not suggesting that there's suddenly like 100 more kids coming. It's part of the programming that we've already testified to. As to the specific vehicle, at this point, we're not conceiving of like school buses or large vehicles to bring all these kids, because the vehicles would be oversized for the number of kids.
Yeah, no, I didn't
fit
say
into
anything
a
about school
classroom,
bus. I
but
used
we can
specific
park a
term called van
Yep.
because I know that oftentimes the Reach Out Montclair will use a van, and you may have answered it, but I'm
Yeah,
not
and
sure.
just to finish,
You
we have a
may
van
have
on site.
answered that when you said that there is a space there that
There is.
could accommodate a van.
It can.
Okay, and I just said I didn't remember that, so that's good to know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other questions from the board? Any questions from the public for this witness about his testimony this evening?
Hi, Liz Zazzi, Z-A-Z-Z-I. Mr. Guthrie, thank you for your amazing work. I think my confusion is, and you can rule me out of order if this is inappropriate, but
Will it be a
it's-
question?
Yes.
Okay.
The transportation is what we're talking about, and that there would be some method of transporting the families in need to the school. But are we accounting for who would be responsible for the children who are in the program? Because my recollection of the mission statement is that the swimmer is the responsibility of the parent. That was stated by the owner-operator who testified at the last meeting. And so my question would be, how are we anticipating maybe it might be 2 vans or multiple vehicles if we're trying to accommodate all of these children, who would then have to have not only a driver getting them there, but the parents that would be responsible for taking the child in, preparing them for the class by getting them dressed, undressed, hair dried, back in their normal clothes, maybe in the middle of winter. So it isn't like, it certainly isn't a pick-up drop-off. That part we get. But it is not, I think I need to understand what's the anticipated way that we would make sure that these children were, that there was a responsible adult, whether it was a parent or guardian or sibling, who was going to take the child into the school and make sure that that child got that individual care that didn't come from a van driver. That's my question.
That's a lot of probability you're asking, so it's hard to answer that question specifically. But I'm sure we work out in the detail eventually what's going to happen. We have to pass this situation first before we can get there. But I'm sure it will work out, because I'm sure it will work out. There's no answer, but it will get done. But as the attorney said, it's not 100 kids coming at one shot. It's over a year. It could be 10, 5. It varies, different numbers. And if we're transporting them in a van, it's drop and go and pick up, take back. That's what we've been doing, you know.
Right, but this particular mission statement isn't a drop and go thing. The parent or a responsible adult has to be with each child to get them ready, to get in the pool, get them out of the pool, dry them off, dress them, get them out of the in and out of the building. It isn't just a transportation issue. It is a guardianship issue, that child is kept safe by the person responsible for them, not a driver, a parent.
I'll answer that real easy. We have programs right now where we have, they go on the bus and we have chaperone. And we can do that. We did that. We have our programs where we're doing that presently. We have 50 kids going into a bus and 3, 4 chaperone, and they stay there with the kids. We can do that. There's many different things we can do. We just have to, get past one stage first. My thing, look where we're at in this world right now. That we can work out. We can work our differences out and work all those are minor stuff I consider. Help. We need help.
It's incredibly inspirational what you're talking about. I just want to be clear that we understand that there's a guardianship that has to happen for each individual child.
We
Thank
can
you.
provide. I'm
Thank you very
chaperone.
much.
Yeah, thank you for your. Yeah.
Other. Yep.
Hi, I'm Warren Ross. I own a building in Upper Montclair Plaza. I have 5 businesses there. Wonderful work you're doing. I taught swimming for many, many years. I'm a swimmer from way back. There's the Montclair Y, where I taught so many kids over the years, underprivileged children and all. There's Safe Splash Swim Club up in Cedar Grove by Staples that has parking galore. You could park 30 buses up there. This project, how would you get the children in? Because this project, the only exit is into Upper Montclair Plaza, which is jammed. You can't get in and out of it now. So why would you pick a place where the parking and the transportation is going to be so difficult?
Sir, when we pick a place, I'm not sure, I don't know if I should speak. When we pick a place, we're not picking concerning that. We're picking a place that's available to have certain type of recreational or whatever. Let me ask you a question. Why every other place, for example, the skate park, why all the kids had to go to Bloomfield for skate park before we had to fight to get them to get skate park here in town? Why we always have to go out of town to provide service for our own kids because of some questions or issues, which I don't think is that much. It's important, yes, but the most important thing is providing for our children so they don't be on drugs on children. I could show you photos of 100 people.
Excuse me, but we're not arguing that.
I'm trying to answer your question.
And you are. Well, sure.
Yeah. You
it's
said
relevant.
go here, go there, but why not here? Why not here? Why all the time we always have to provide facility out of town for the people? I work as a police in this town, and the question that the kids always ask, I always ask them, make sure I ask them when they get in trouble, why don't you find something to do? There's nothing to do in town. There's no place provided for us. That's exactly what they say, and over. I've been in the trenches with these kids. You probably might not, but I've been there. I've been there myself also. So I'm telling you from experience and from what I'm hearing on a daily, regular basis. I'm not talking from just what I heard. I'm talking from experience.
Montclair YMCA is in Montclair. The Safe Splash is in Cedar Grove, the next town over. I do a lot of charity work in Montclair. I help people that you help. Why have you not gone? Have you gone to Montclair YMCA? Have you gone to?
Yes, I have.
Splash?
I don't go to Splash. Why I should go to out of town when I've been in this town all my life?
Because it has a lot of parking.
No, then
and
why?
it has an ongoing program.
Why
there.
not here? Why not here?
there?
Why not? But why not here? You tell me why not here?
Because the parking is horrendous right now.
Well, we have to
just
work
go
it
up.
out.
Excuse
I know,
me
this
one
is-
second.
this
But
is
just
getting-
go up and go to the
Yeah,
plaza.
like, this
and
is-
watch
this
all
is-
the cars that get it stuck.
Sir, sir,
times
You
today.
complain about
Sir,
minor
hey,
stuff.
hey, everybody. That's enough. Okay? Let's get back to this application. If you have questions for him about his testimony, I think he answered more or less what your question was. Do you have other questions?
The question I asked was if he has applied to, spoken to someone at the Montclair YMCA.
And he said yes.
Has he
Yes.
I'd like to know who that person is and what the result was.
I
And then,
checked.
but then, and
Okay.
the splash. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, come on up.
Geraldine Lear, 48 South Park Street. Leer. I was very touched by what you said. And I appreciate what the mayor said, that this is about parking. And Mr. Genova, you stated that they could possibly park a van in the disability parking space?
The mayor had asked whether or not there was the ability to park, I think she meant a specific van, because Reach Out Montclair has a van. She then pivoted a little bit and said, I'm also curious about what would happen if someone were coming in an accessible vehicle. The accessible vehicle does have a spot that has a loading zone on the other side of it to move out. My site plan in front of me.
The mayor asked also where the van would park.
I wish I had my site plan in front of me, but if my memory serves me correctly, there's a loading zone on either side of that parking spot, and so the parking spot immediately adjacent to the ADA also has the benefit of the clearance between the ADA spot and itself, so that a van is not an unusually large vehicle. A van can park in a traditional parking spot. So we have traditional parking spots that a van could park in, but there's one that I believe is best suited for that, which is the one next to the ADA spot.
Okay.
And their civil engineer is coming back to provide some
Okay.
testimony, so that actually may be a
Okay.
good thing, if the civil engineer doesn't address it directly, it's a good question for you to ask them when they come back on August 3rd.
Okay. And thank you so much for your work. I think it's wonderful. Thank you.
Other questions from the public for this witness?
Hi, this is Jennifer May, Stephen Street. Also, thank you for your work. I just have a couple questions. Considering that there might be traffic getting up to the area, did the operator go over you what their late arrival or cancellation policy is if people are late for the class? No? Okay. And did swimming, a lot of times swimming is learned very consistently. So my understanding, and I'm not sure if I'm right, so someone tell me, is that the spaces that are being offered are what they're expecting to be empty spots in a class. So is that right?
That's more in detail with the planner or something else. I'm not sure about that.
The agreement on its face commits to 100 spaces, makes no reference to whether they're open or not or extra spaces. There's an obligation for 100 children under the agreement annually.
So then you guys will potentially turn away paying customers so that this client base will have consistent access to the lessons?
This agreement commits to this organization 100 spots for children that they identify.
Okay.
Other questions from the public? All right, I see none. So at this point, I don't believe you have more witnesses
No, we
for
will not
tonight.
be calling any further witnesses this evening. We did confer with the Secretary and Council. I think we have dates scheduled for the return of our parking expert and our civil engineer, and then our planner subsequent to that.
So this will be continued to August 3rd, 2026 at 7 o'clock with hopefully your parking and civil engineer, assuming they're available.
We understand you've made it clear you want to hear from them.
Sorry, Ed,
You've
what was
made
that?
it clear you want to hear from them, and
Yes.
we intend to produce them. We just have to confirm the dates.
Okay.
Could you give me a moment, please?
Sure.
We have nothing further.
Okay, so this will be continued to August 3rd, 2026 at 7 p.m. With hopefully those witnesses that we discussed.
Great, and thank you for this evening.
Thank you.
That were here, will they come back to where they did?
We have a council
Okay.
referral.
But I'm
Ordinance.
objective, just because we're like best, it doesn't mean I'm not objective, but I'm here.
All right, so we have a council referral on amending the land use procedures.
Yes, this is an ordinance that was introduced by council on June 9th. And it is simply amending the, I did not bring a paper copy of the ordinance, I'm sorry, but it's very straight.
It was in Ms.
emailed-
Talley's email.
I
Yes,
emailed
is.
it to you.
Pass this, you guys can take a look at that.
Yeah, and essentially, it really expands the requirement for applicants to provide details about their ownership entities and what the ownership components are. So it's pretty straightforward. I don't think that requires a lot of discussion. It just requires them to provide a lot more detail about their ownership structure.
And is our job on this consistent or inconsistent with the master plan?
Honestly, the master plan is pretty silent about ownership requirements.
Right. But the
So-
MLUL is not, to my understanding. The MLUL, doesn't it already require this information
We
from an
already
applicant?
require this information. I understand that certain council members thought that it needed to be expanded. I was not part of the conversation, so.
But the MLUL, I believe, requires that applicants provide this information before we can even
And we
agree
already-
to an approval, correct?
It's already in our application.
Right.
This just, I guess, clarifies it.
Just, right,
Expands it, clarifies it.
right. I guess my point is.
It's consistent with the MLUL.
This is consistent with the MLUL, which already requires this, so this
Right.
just reinforces our local ordinance that
That's
this is
correct.
required, even though
Correct.
state law
Correct.
also requires it.
Correct,
Yeah.
and I think
Mayor.
that would be an excellent response to this, because I understand it the same way as you do, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
From my little bit of knowledge about
Just
certifying.
bring the mic down if you
From a
wouldn't
little bit
mind.
of knowledge I have about certifying, this is like really standard language to certify who owns what. You know, if there's another company that owns another company. The only little thing is that in New Jersey, it's a business registration certificate. That's what it's called. It's not a form. So officially, it's a business registration certificate. I'm not sure if that matters at all, but that's what you get if you
Right.
file with the state.
Right.
It just says form in there, so I'm not, just FYI. And it's in C on page 2 of 8, but I'm not suggesting change it, but.
Oh, are you saying
does-
instead of business registration form is
Yeah,
a different
it's
name?
officially called the business registration
We
certificate, is what's
just
issued by the
recommend
state.
changing it to certificate.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what it's called, yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I think that
Just
should be a
so- 'cause
recommendation.
a form is something you fill out to get something, usually.
That would make sense.
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Anyone have questions or any other comments on this?
Okay.
Well, I just want to make sure that there's no other questions here. No, I mean, if there's discussion, please go forward. I just want to, I don't want to cut anyone off early. Okay, okay. Then I would make a motion to find that these changes are not inconsistent with the master plan and are consistent with the MLUL, and that we further recommend that let me get the right, in the revision to section 202-29.1C, we change it at the end to a business registration certificate, or we recommend the council change it to.
Double check it, but I'm quite sure.
Yeah.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No bills, right? No bills?
I think we have bills.
Oh, we have bills.
Do we have
Oh.
committee reports? I know there was some discussion of
Well, the
active
zoning
committees.
subcommittee met, and we had an very interesting discussion about the proposed R2 affordable zone. There was a lot more concern about the impacts of the R2 affordable zone than any benefit that it would provide. By the way, I would like to report that, our housing plan recommended that we create or do a intensive architectural survey for the area the naturally occurring affordable housing area, we did get that grant from the state of New Jersey.
Okay.
So we will be doing the survey, and that will trigger the demolition permit review for any of those homes to be demolished. So that was one of the recommendations in the housing plan. We're moving forward with that, and that does address the naturally occurring affordable housing issue. There was not a lot of support for the zoning changes that we were proposing for the naturally occurring affordable housing, so we're going to set that aside for now for further discussion and try and focus on some other changes. And Thamar and I, the master plan subcommittee, we met. It was kind of hard sometimes to get everybody to meet, so I'm trying to get as much information as possible. I participate in, regarding the master plan reexamination report, I participated in a meeting with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee last week. They had a lot of good ideas. They received, we actually went into contract with a firm to do a new open space and recreation plan, so we are moving forward with that, and we will be getting comments from them. I gave them until August 15th to give me their comments. I know that the Division of Senior Living here in Montclair is working with the seniors to give me comments on the senior recommendations in the master plan documents. So we're pretty busy, and then we're going to have our Wednesday meetings for the next month. So we're getting a lot of input for this master plan reexamination report, and I would really, for those meetings, again, I'd like to have anybody who wants to, I really encourage people to come to at least one of the meetings, so that it's,
Are we
you can
coming
hear
as
some of the
listeners
comments.
or
Excuse me?
participants or listeners or everything? If we come to the meeting, we're, look, you said something about a quorum?
Yeah, we
yeah.
have to
What was
avoid,
that about?
we have to avoid having a quorum.
Okay,
right?
and what's that number?
You don't want to have 4 people there.
Right.
No more, 4 is the max or no more, or
No more
3 is
than-
the?
3 is, we try and keep it to 3.
3, or else it's considered the planning
Yeah.
board offsite meeting.
And I think the
Okay.
purpose of the meeting
Right.
is really to listen.
Right, okay. Right, and we're there to listen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think to hear the public's input,
Yes,
to hear
yes,
what the
yes.
questions are, to hear the concerns, and to absorb it, and, Ms. Talley, of course, with her staff will do that, but
Okay.
for us to hear it as well, I think would be a great thing.
All right, well, I will commit to come to it.
Okay.
It is a wonderful experience. I went to one of them. I guess they're going to have another one in the 4th Ward with Mr. Daniel White, and it was really good to hear from the residents and the business owners in that area, and it was very well attended, and so I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to going back to a couple.
Yeah. Daniel's
these
been
be
going to
recorded?
each of the business
Mhm.
districts.
Will these be recorded, the community meetings?
I recorded the one that we were in. There was no, like township recording per se at the time.
I think that'd be great if we could get even transcripts, since we can't all attend. Yeah.
We can work, I can work with our communications department on that.
Yeah.
Great.
So if you are going to attend
Yeah.
one of these, please let Ms. Talley know ahead of time, so we can just make sure we don't accidentally have a quorum. The Open Public Meetings Act, there are some things, if we all just happen to be in a certain place,
Yeah.
not a big deal, but I think considering this is based on the master plan, which is really our domain, it would behoove us not to show up with a quorum.
Right.
And
We can go, we don't have to go within our ward, correct?
No.
It doesn't matter.
Go to any of them.
Okay.
And the one that I attended, they actually had a link for people that couldn't physically be there to be a part of the conversation too. I don't know if that's something that's going to be continued with the rest of them, but I thought that it seemed to be a good thing. But these, I notice, are all 6:30 to 8:30.
Yes.
So maybe he decided it would be better to
Well,
do that.
these aren't Daniel's meetings. These are actually going to be a different staff that's in the office that's coordinating these meetings. And so,
Is it going to be the same staff person? One individual person that's going to be doing them?
it'll
Or
be
it's gonna
myself.
Yourself,
and
okay.
Zainab, my assistant planner. I might bring Daniel to these meetings as well. So it's between the 3 of us.
Okay.
Mark said he might even come. He's a planner as well, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
Oh, that sounds terrific.
Okay?
Sign me up.
All right.
So yeah, we're busy.
Yeah, well, I know, and there's going to be a lot to do the rest of this year.
Yeah.
Between applications and other work that we have, so we've got our work cut out for us. Okay, is there a motion to pay the bills?
I'd like, make a motion to pay the bills.
And then I heard a second.
No, I'm just kidding.
Second by Mr. Borshoff.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention, okay.
Then I'll
Motion
move.
to adjourn.
Second.
Beat you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Have a
good night,
great
everyone.
evening.